Chapter 1258. No, I don't want to be burned. I don't want to be barbecued. I don't want to be eaten. Hee hee. Then how do you want me to eat you? Boo-hoo, I don't want to be eaten. Please let me go. Well, I can let you go, but you have to let me eat a bite. Can I not eat it? No. Well, okay then. Where do you want to eat? Gongsun Wuxia still didn't dare to look at Suyu and subconsciously covered her flat chest. You can't eat it here. There's nothing here. And if you eat it, it won't grow. Suyu laughed secretly. Even if you don't eat it, it won't grow, right? Then how about I eat a finger? Okay, but only one. You said it's only one. Gongsun Wuxia reached out her index finger with trepidation, but suddenly changed her mind and replaced it with her little finger. Eat this. Suyu was secretly amused. He leaned over and put his lips on her finger, as if he was going to bite it. It hurts, it hurts, it hurts. Gongsun Wuxia screamed immediately, tears coming out of her eyes from the pain. Suyu loosened his mouth and couldn't help but laugh. I haven't even started biting, Wuxia, and you are already so scared. If I really bite you, won't you die of pain? Gongsun Wuxia, who was struggling, was suddenly stunned. What did you call me? How do you know my name? She didn't remember telling the name of this man-eating devil before. Moreover, why did his voice sound so familiar? Although it was deeper than before, it was obviously a disguise. She closed her eyes tightly, and quietly and carefully opened them a little, for fear that if she opened them too wide, the demon would bite her. Through the small gap, the demon's nose, mouth, and jaw could be vaguely seen. Hey, he seems really familiar. Gongsun Wuxia opened her eyes a little wider, and when she saw his full face, her eyes widened. You are. Because she was too shocked, Gongsun Wuxia opened her mouth and tried to breathe, trying to call out Suyu's name, but she couldn't, as if she was choked by something. Unable to call out Suyu's name for a long time, she burst into tears, hugging his neck and crying. Suyu was amused. He patted her back and comforted her. After crying for a long time, Gongsun Wuxia finally stopped crying. She glared at Suyu angrily, opened her small mouth, and bit Suyu's shoulder. She mumbled, "That's what you get for scaring me. That's what you get for scaring me. I'll bite you back." Asterisk kiss. Asterisk. Suyu pushed her away and turned his head to take a look. There really was a bite mark on his shoulder. "You're really going to bite me? Who told you to scare me?" Gongsun Wuxia said indignantly. Recalling her performance just now, her face turned bright red, and she wished she could find a hole in the ground to hide in. What happened just now was too embarrassing. "You two are kissing each other. Don't you want to look at the occasion?" The second princess interjected inappropriately. Gongsun Wuxia looked around, and her face turned pale in an instant. "They're all demons. Suyu, why aren't they eating you?" The second princess stared at her. "What is the image of the devil race in your galaxy?" There was not much difference between the residents of the fiend realm and the creatures in the universe. It was the group of transformed monsters in the holy magic hall that swallowed holy spirits. Seeing Gongsun Wuxia's frightened look, the second princess pouted. "Don't worry, we won't eat you. So you didn't eat us. How would we dare to eat you?" Gongsun Wuxia's eyes widened. So you really eat people, eat demons." Feeling helpless, Suyu covered his chest with his right palm and took out the demon blood in his body. In this way, he transformed into the form of a demon and quickly faded away, returning to the appearance of a human. "They are now under my command, so they are my people." Gongsun Wuxia pointed to the sixth princess. "Including her? She doesn't seem to be a mortal fairy, does she?" "Mortal fairy, not really." Suyu was speechless. "What about her? She's not a mortal fairy, is she?" Gongsun Wuxia pointed to the second princess. "No. What about him? What about them?" "None of them," Suyu said. Gongsun Wuxia suddenly turned over, raised her neck like a little peacock, and said, "What? You scare me to death. It turns out that they're all small fish in the demon race. They don't even have the boundary of the mortal fairy realm." With that, Gongsun Wuxia clenched her small fist, and a trace of the mortal fairy's power burst out. "See? Do you know what this is? It's the great power of the mortal fairy, and it can smash you, who don't even have a mortal fairy, in an instant," Gongsun Wuxia said proudly. Hearing this, the gods, including the sixth princess, couldn't help but laugh. They were not like the other gods, who emitted divine light at any time. Because of the revealing of their original bodies, Gongsun Wuxia did not think of them as a higher level of the realm of the gods. Instead, she could not see through their cultivation, thinking that it was because of the special physique of the demon race. She took it for granted that they were a group of scum who didn't even have the realm of a mortal fairy. "Oof, how dare you laugh at me? What a group of demons who don't know the immensity of heaven and earth." Gongsun Wuxia grinned and grinned, but her threatening look made them laugh even more. "Well, let's hurry to the Great Western Alliance." Suyu was also amused, but he knew Gongsun Wuxia's temper. If she continued to make trouble, she would really start a fight, so he spoke up to dissuade her. The gods just went their separate ways. "Oomph, you should feel lucky that Brother Suyu saved your lives." Gongsun Wuxia looked like a master. Suyu looked at Gongsun Wuxia and said, "Your cultivation has broken through so quickly, so the power of the immortal herb in your body has been dissolved?" Gongsun Wuxia's little face was bitter, and she pointed to her body that was still like a little girl. "Do you think it looks like it has been dissolved?" "No," Suyu said. Gongsun Wuxia was very distressed. "The glittering jewel fairy scepter you gave me did purify part of the medicine, so that my cultivation was no longer limited to the 9th grade fairy. Under my father's voluntary cultivation, I barely broke through the realm of the mortal fairy, but my body did not get any better." Suyu understood and thought about it. "By the way, how did you become a death row prisoner? What about the Duanxian Cliff Master?" Unexpectedly, as soon as Suyu asked, Gongsun Wuxia's little face became gloomy. Gradually, her eyes filled with tears and then turned into crystal tears. Finally, she threw herself into Suyu's arms and cried loudly, "Father is dead." The Duanxian Cliff Master was dead? Suyu was shocked, but he was not too sad. As long as his breath existed in the world, resurrecting him was just a matter of thinking. The problem was that resurrecting a dead person in front of them was more or less troublesome. This matter could be discussed later. How did he die? Speaking of which, when we parted that day, you were still in the Great Eastern Alliance. Why did you appear in the Great Western Alliance? Gongsun Wuxia sobbed for a long time before she said, "Father was originally a member of the Great Western Alliance, a member of the top 10 anti-demon families. Although he was not a direct descendant of the gods, he was indeed from the family of the gods." So he was not surprised at all about this. As early as in Jojo, the Duanxian Cliff Master gave people a sense of mystery, including his origin, and no one knew. Finally, when the Jojo continent migrated, his identity as a non-Nazu creature was exposed. Now, it was not surprising that he had another identity as a descendant of the gods. Father was persecuted by his people and was forced to leave the Great Western Alliance. For some reasons, he hid in the Jojo cavern world until the Jojo continent migrated, then returned to Xing River and took root in the Great Eastern Alliance. Suyu frowned and said, "Persecuted? So, you came to the Great Western Alliance for revenge, but were taken advantage of by the enemy?" "No." Gongsun Wuxia shook her head and said, "Father knows that he can't take revenge on his own now, so he is ready to take root in the Great Eastern Alliance and gradually cultivate his own forces." Suyu was surprised. "How did the Duanxian Cliff Master die? How did you end up in the Great Western Alliance and become a death row prisoner?" "My father and daughter were extradited to the Great Western Alliance by the Great Eastern Alliance." Gongsun Wuxia clenched her fists, her eyes full of hatred. "Extradition? Who decided?" Suyu was shocked. "It was decided by the gods at a meeting to arrest all the wanted criminals of the Great Western Alliance and hand them over to the Great Western Alliance. My father and I were arrested by the Great Eastern Alliance and sent to the Great Western Alliance. Shortly after my father came, he was persecuted to death. I was also controlled by them and became cannon fodder to explore the demon world." Suyu frowned deeply. Why did the Great Eastern Alliance do this? If they wanted to extradite us, they would have extradited us a long time ago. Why wait until today? I heard that it was to cooperate with the Great Western Alliance, so we had to be sacrificed as a gift to the Great Western Alliance. So you thought about it and said, "Are you ranked high on the wanted list of the Great Western Alliance?" Not high. My father is just an inconspicuous member of a family of gods. He can only be regarded as a sixth-level wanted criminal, much higher than those high-level wanted criminals. Gongsun Wuxia said, "Moreover, the enemies of the Great Western Alliance did not know that we were in the Great Eastern Alliance, nor did they request to extradite us by name. My father and daughter were very low-key in the Great Eastern Alliance. My father and I could not figure out why we were extradited. At the same time, the wanted criminals who were extradited were all notorious in the Great Western Alliance. Only my father and daughter were sixth-level wanted criminals, insignificant. So you listened and gradually realized that something was amiss. Have you ever found out who decided to extradite the criminals?" Gongsun Wuxia shook her head. "We have no foundation in the Great Eastern Alliance. What can we find out? Besides, we were soon caught and had nowhere to ask. It was already good enough to know that it was the decision of the gods." Hearing this, Su Yu's heart was as clear as a mirror. Obviously, the father and daughter were deliberately put on the extradition list. "Perhaps the Great Eastern Alliance has changed," Su Yu murmured. He had been away for 2 years, and the situation of the Great Eastern Alliance had changed dramatically. However, now was not the time to care about the situation of the Great Eastern Alliance. He needed to go to the Great Western Alliance. Not only did he have to seek justice for the father and daughter, but there was another more important thing to do. The general direction of the meeting of the gods of the Great Eastern Alliance was not wrong. The invasion of the demon dimension was imminent, and it was time to connect the two great alliances of the East and West together to fight against the demons. Chapter 1259. Wuxia, I will take you back to the Great Western Alliance, Sui said. Gongsun Wuxia shook her head vigorously. Don't go. If you stay with me, you will be regarded as an accomplice of my father and me. I don't want to implicate you. You should go back to the Great Eastern Alliance. What about you? Sui asked tentatively. Gongsun Wuxia forced a smile. I am fine. I am free. If I hide in the Great Western Alliance, no one can find me. Hee. Sui said, can you really live well alone? Humph, who am I? Who can bully me? Gongsun Wuxia waved her small fist and said firmly, Go, don't worry about me. Sui touched her head and was moved. If I don't care about you, who will help you remove the seal in your body? Gongsun Wuxia's body stiffened, and she said in surprise, You know? Looking at her pretending to be innocent and not wanting to implicate them. Suyu's heart was filled with tenderness. Although she was naughty, she was a good girl. Well, how can I leave you alone? Who put the seal on you? I will go find him, Suyu said. Gongsun Wuxia's eyes were misty, and she bit her lip. Her face was full of gratitude and emotion. She wiped her eyes and choked. No, you still care about me. I'm very satisfied, but really, you don't have to. You can't deal with the person who put the seal on me. She was really touched. At the last moment of her life, she could see Suyu again and be cared for by him again. She was content. How do you know I can't deal with it if you don't tell me? Suyu laughed. You should know that I have the identity of a substitute god in the Great Eastern Alliance. Maybe it will be useful in the Great Western Alliance? Gongsun Wuxia's eyes lit up. Yes, how could she forget this? After hesitating for a while, Gongsun Wuxia said, It is the master of the Gongsun family, one of the top 10 anti-demon families. He's a real god. Well, then go find him, Suyu said casually. Gongsun Wuxia said anxiously, Don't be so reckless. You have to use your brain and use tactics. Otherwise, he may not value your identity and sentence you to death. That will not be worth the loss. I see. All right, I'll go negotiate with him. Negotiate? Gongsun Wuxia frowned. She regretted letting Suyu stand up for her. She was very uneasy. Yes, it must be a negotiation. Suyu repeated with a smile. Tell me about your grievances. Why did the deities of the present age take action and put a seal on you in the end? Gongsun Wuxia nodded and told him about the grudges between her father and the Gongsun family. It turned out that in the early years, the Duanshan Cliffmaster was just an ordinary member of the Gongsun family. He was 100,000 miles away from the dazzling, direct descendants of the deities. The Duanshan Cliffmaster was humble and simple. His qualifications were also very mediocre, but he was hardworking and persevering. He stood out among the clansmen who were not of the direct line of descent. During a certain alliance conference, the severed fairy cliff accidentally met the alliance master's eighth daughter. One was the daughter of the high and mighty alliance leader, the descendant of a god, while the other was a mediocre aristocratic family's disciple. The two of them, who had nothing to do with each other, met later on in the expedition. A group of deities from the Holy Magic Hall led the invasion of the Devil Race army. The alliance leader, the eighth woman, led the anti-devil team to resist, but unfortunately, she was seriously injured. Coincidentally, he was rescued by the severed fairy cliff master and hid in the demon-occupied area for several years. Day and night, the severed fairy cliff master meticulously moved the eighth woman. After quelling the invasion of the devil race, the eighth woman took the initiative to ask the alliance master to marry the Gongsun family's Duanshan cliffmaster. At that time, the alliance master's vitality was greatly damaged. The alliance master's family also successively lost many strong people. The power was unstable, and the position of the alliance master might not be guaranteed. Therefore, in order to win over the Gongsun family and gain their support, the alliance master agreed. It was a beautiful thing for the lovers to get married, but in the end, there was a change. When the alliance master's marriage was announced, Gongsun Shan, who was the first heir of the Gongsun family, was jealous. He coveted the famous beauty of the alliance master's eighth daughter. He was even more jealous that the person to be married was not him, the first heir, but the mediocre Duanshan cliffmaster. He asked Gongsun deity, his father, to replace the Duanshan cliffmaster and marry the eighth daughter of the alliance master. Gongsun deity, in fact, was also dissatisfied that the person to be married was not of the direct line of descent, so he personally discussed it with the alliance master. It was conceivable that the alliance master preferred Gongsun Shan, who was the first heir, so that the marriage would be closer. The two hit it off, and the marriage partner changed from the Duanshan cliffmaster to Gongsun Shan. No matter how the eighth daughter pleaded, the alliance master was indifferent. The Duanshan cliffmaster also knelt down and asked the family master for mercy, but he received a cold reprimand, asking him to focus on the overall situation. In the end, the two had no choice but to escape from the Great Western Alliance. They chose to elope all the way to the Great Eastern Alliance. The alliance master and Gongsun deity of the Great Western Alliance were furious and sent people to hunt them down. When they caught up, it was already a full 3 years later. During these 3 years, they hid from place to place, and because of this, they got together and gave birth to the still young Gongsun Wuxia. After a great battle, the eighth daughter was seriously injured, and the Duanshan cliffmaster lost most of his cultivation. Even their daughter was regarded as a bastard by the people sent by the alliance master and killed on the spot. The eighth daughter used the only immortal spirit herb in the world to save Gongsun Wuxia's life. The medicinal effect would last for 10 years, and the medicinal effect would take shape when she was 10 years old. This was also the origin of Gongsun Wuxia's special constitution. The previous claim that she took it by mistake at the age of 10 was just a white lie that the Duanshan cliffmaster could not bear to tell the truth. In order to protect her husband and child, the eighth daughter burned her celestial energy sphere and sent them across the border into the Jiuzhou cavern world. Due to the existence of the Jiuzhou cavern world barrier, the pursuers did not find them and only captured the eighth daughter. So far, the eighth daughter was still imprisoned in the heavenly prison. A good marriage alliance was broken because of their elopement. One could imagine how much the Gongsun deity's family hated the Duanshan cliffmaster, who did not understand the overall situation. Now that they were accidentally extradited back, the Duanshan cliffmaster was executed, and the bastard Gongsun Wuxia was not spared. After hearing this, Su Yu's eyes were full of sarcasm. What a good overall situation. Because of the overall situation, you want to give up your own woman? Such a high-sounding reason is just to cover up the Gongsun deity's partiality. Before meeting the Gongsun deity, Suyu was already disgusted. Gongsun Wuxia was comforted in her heart. She rubbed Suyu's palm with her little hand and whispered, "It's good that you know. When negotiating, don't show your dissatisfaction. I'm really afraid that you will get yourself involved." "Oh, don't worry. Didn't I say that I will negotiate well?" Suyu sneered. A month later, in the Great Western Alliance. In terms of brightness, the Great Western Alliance was still above the Eastern Alliance. There were many gods, no less than 100. The difference was that the gods of the Great Western Alliance were all present, and there was no deity who was traveling outside. Moreover, the entire alliance exuded a tense and somber atmosphere, from the gods to the ordinary creatures. Compared with the peaceful Eastern Alliance, which was like a paradise, the Western Alliance was the other extreme. So you could not help but think of the Dakini. What kind of leader creates what kind of environment? A Virgin Mary who was kind to her enemies. Under her rule, it was a loose organization that lived in a corner and had no sense of crisis. If the Eastern Alliance, like the Western Alliance, fought against the demons all year round and honed a batch of actual combat experts, when the final war came, the situation might not be so bad. Unfortunately, there are only a few years left, and wanting to change the Eastern Alliance immediately was tantamount to a fantasy. It was imperative to reach an alliance with the powerful Western Alliance. Before coming to the Western Alliance, Suyu let the 10 gods enter the small Buddha beads of the cavern world on his wrist. Each bead could accommodate one person. Otherwise, the sudden appearance of 10 demon gods would have alarmed the entire Western Alliance. In this way, he took Gongsun Wuxia into the alliance. Unlike the Eastern Alliance, where each deity controlled their own cavern world, all the cavern worlds of the Western Alliance were connected and collectively referred to as the Alliance Continent. The gods who created the cavern world also lost their jurisdiction over the cavern world, and all their power was returned to the Alliance. The leader was the commander, followed by the heads of the 10 major anti-demon families, who were bestowed with the title of the 10 Guardian Generals. Under the Guardian Generals, each commanded 10 gods, and the gods then commanded the quasi-gods, mortal fairies, and all creation's armies. As soon as the leader gave the order, the war machine of the Western Alliance could be started. Among them, the status of the 10 major anti-demon families was not trivial. Any family controlled a huge amount of power, enough to affect the vitality of the Western Alliance, so their status was very high. Even the leader would not offend any of the families at will. The Gongsun family ranked 10th and was ranked last among the 10 great families. Even so, no one dared to underestimate the anti-demon family. The 10 major anti-demon families were all located in the Alliance City, the largest city of the Western Alliance, for the convenience of obeying the orders of the leader. On this day, the Alliance City welcomed 2 guests. One was a girl in disguise, but could not hide her petite figure. The other was a handsome man with silver hair. When they came to the gate of the Gongsun mansion, Gongsun Wuxia hesitated, bit her lip, and pulled Suyu's sleeve. Forget it. The more she thought about it, the more she felt that this trip was full of danger. If she died alone, why should she implicate Suyu? How can I give up now that I'm here? Suyu pulled out his sleeve and stepped towards the main door. Gongsun Wuxia had no choice but to catch up with him. She lowered her voice and said, "Then you must restrain yourself. No matter what happens, you must be patient and never provoke the other party." Suyu curled his lips. "You have said this to me more than 10 times along the way. Don't you find it annoying?" I am worried about you." Gongsun Wuxia was still worried. Suyu smiled. "Don't worry. I am here to negotiate today." Yes, we must talk about it calmly." "Good, calm and collected." Suyu nodded and walked to the main door. He gathered his energy and shouted loudly, "Gongsun deity, Gongsun Shan, get out here quickly to greet the guests." His voice was so loud that it shook half of the Alliance City. Several bustling streets seemed to have been frozen in time. Not a single sound could be heard. They had lived for so long, but this was the first time they had heard that someone dared to challenge the anti-demon families in public. Chapter 1260. Gongsun Wuxia was shocked by Suyu's recklessness. Did he think his life was longer than the sky? She grabbed Suyu's arm, and pulled him back without saying a word. Her heart was pounding. Who dares to be so bold? After all, this was the mansion of one of the top 10 anti-demon families. How could a god be insulted by someone's mansion and still be allowed to retreat safely? A group of guard from the inner sanctum flew out of the courtyard wall and surrounded them with murderous intent. At this time, an old housekeeper in a dark green robe walked out of the mansion quickly. This is outrageous. There were people who secretly insulted the anti-demon gods, but it was the first time the housekeeper had heard of someone who dared to come to the door and insult them. Suyu stood upright with his hands crossed in front of his chest and said lightly, "Are you Gongsun Shan? You are so old, but you still have a lustful mind. Don't insult the young master," the housekeeper said sharply. Suyu frowned. "Not Gongsun Shan. I asked Gongsun Shan to come out and greet me. What are you doing here? How dare you? How dare you insult the young master's body of 1,000 venerables? Guards, arrest him." An arrogant madman like Su, you would not be able to establish his authority without severe punishment. Suyu snorted. "You are just a descendant of God. You are not called a body of 1,000 venerables." Swish! He turned his palm, and a token full of divine power flickered in his palm. The guards who rushed over could not help but raise their eyebrows, and their bodies stopped abruptly with a look of surprise on their faces. The housekeeper was also stunned. "A god's order? Are you a god?" "Yes, a substitute god. How about it? Shouldn't your reincarnated young master come out to greet me? How can a descendant of a god be so arrogant when a god is visiting?" The housekeeper was solemn. A god was far from being offended by a housekeeper. However, the housekeeper changed his mind and said, "May I ask, Lord God, which substitute god is it?" There were several substitute gods in the Great Western Alliance, but none of them were as young as the young man in front of him. The substitute god of the crane deity of the Great Eastern Alliance. The housekeeper nodded. "Oh, the substitute god of the crane deity. Please excuse me. Wait, where are you from? The Great Eastern Alliance? If not," Suyu asked coldly. The reverence on the butler's face was soon replaced by surprise, anger, and laughter. "What a great proxy deity of the Eastern Alliance. How dare you come to the Western Alliance to behave atrociously? Men, detain him." The butler laughed angrily. An acting deity was indeed impressive, but if he was from the Great Eastern Alliance, this identity was like a chicken feather token. The surrounding guards heaved a sigh of relief and pounced forward again. All of them were powerhouses at the level of mortal fairies. They had a resolute and calm temperament, and their actions were capable and decisive. They were an elite troop. However, when he was just 30 feet away from Suyu's whole body shone with golden light, and he turned into a golden dragon that swept across. The surrounding guard were like the autumn wind sweeping away the fallen leaves. They were all sent flying back into the mansion. As he floated down, Suyu returned to his human form. Faint golden light remained on the surface of his body, making him look like a golden Buddha. "Since Gongsun deity and Gongsun Shan don't want to welcome me, I will be an uninvited guest." The corner of the butler's mouth twitched. "Since when were you a welcome guest? Stop, before you make a big mistake. There is still a possibility of redemption. If you step into the mansion of the anti-demon family, there will be no place for you in the Great Western Alliance." So you turned a deaf ear to him. As he stepped into the mansion, he said, "First, the family that stole my wife and killed my children are not qualified to redeem me. Second, you don't have the right to say where I can stay, and neither does the Gongsun family. Only I, Suyu, have a right to say it." Gongsun Wuxia's cherry lips opened so wide that an egg could almost be stuffed into it. When did he become so powerful? One person killed more than a dozen strong people at the level of mortal fairies? Among them, there was no lack of peak mortal fairies. She deeply remembered that in the Jiuzhou continent, Suyu had to deal with the central prefecture's king, who was at the peak of mortal fairies. In just a few years, he had grown so much. Moreover, where did he get the confidence to look down on the deity's family? When they met again, Gongsun Wuxia found that Suyu in front of her was so strange. Things had developed to this point, and her persuasion was useless. She took a deep breath, straightened her chest, and followed Su Yu into the Gongsun family that she feared and hated. Stop him! The housekeeper was exasperated. He had never looked down on the Gongsun family like this before. This time, 4 early-stage prospective deities appeared, like 4 Vajra, staring at Su Yu angrily. Breaking into the Gongsun deity's family is outrageous. Su Yu glanced at them. I'm looking for the Gongsun deity and his son. It has nothing to do with you. All of you step back. What a joke. You want us to step back? The 4 early-stage prospective deities laughed angrily. Unexpectedly, as soon as they finished speaking, Su Yu, who was in front of them, flashed with colorful lights and disappeared in the air. Almost at the same time, they felt a chill on their backs, and a strong metal-based breath suddenly broke out. Then, each of the 4 of them was punched hard, and their divine bodies were shaken, and their souls were almost shaken out. If I ask you to step back, you must step back. Su Yu turned his back to them and walked towards the depths of the mansion. The 4 early-stage prospective deities were so shocked that they forgot to breathe. They couldn't believe what they had just seen. That punch was not only powerful, but more importantly, it contained divine power. Was that really the 3rd realm of the mortal fairy? Gongsun Wuxia was stunned. Even the early-stage prospective deities were beaten silly like onions. How strong was Su Yu? Passing the 4 early-stage prospective deities, Gongsun Wuxia chased after Su Yu all the way, barely keeping up with his pace. The housekeeper rushed over and was shocked. You can't stop him? The situation was urgent. The housekeeper took out a conch-shaped artifact from his neck and blew it immediately. Woo-woo. The low and loud sound of the conch was rapid and penetrating, spreading throughout the mansion. This was the first-level alert signal of the mansion, which would only be blown when the demon clan invaded. The guards in the mansion reacted extremely quickly, immediately soaring into the sky and scanning the whole mansion. It was easy to find that 2 unusual breaths were rampaging in the mansion, and the guards along the way were forcibly pushed away. There's an enemy attack. A group of bodyguards was filled with murderous intent as they swarmed over. In an instant, even the noon sun was covered, and the earth was plunged into darkness. Get lost! So he did not look up and put his hands together. The earth behind him suddenly surged like waves, and all the seals that protected the palace were torn apart and destroyed. It was as if there was a huge monster under the earth. Swoosh! Swoosh! In an instant, a towering giant tree slowly rose from the earth, and the huge canopy covered the sky and the sun. The huge shade of the tree was so dense that the wind could not pass through, and the Gongsun family was shrouded in darkness. From the giant tree, thousands of branches suddenly stretched out, sweeping around like whips. There was a burst of pain, and the black mass of guards in the sky disappeared like dark clouds that were scattered. In just a few breaths, the mansion of the Gongsun family was razed to the ground. Chapter 1261. There, Su Yu felt the strongest breath in the mansion, a middle-stage prospective deity. There was a huge movement here, but he was still unmoved. The only explanation was that he was at a critical juncture of cultivation. Stop him! Don't let him take another step forward, the housekeeper screamed. However, where Su Yu passed, no one could stop him. Who could stop him? Who dared to stop him? Along the way, most of the mansion was razed to the ground. Su Yu arrived in front of a secret underground room that was heavily guarded. 2 early-stage prospective deities stood motionless. They were still guarding this place despite such a huge movement, which showed that the status of the middle-stage prospective deity in the secret chamber was extraordinary. It seems to be Gongsun Shan, Su Yu said to himself. His eyes turned and glanced at the 2. It has nothing to do with you. Get out of the way. Without waiting for the 2 prospective deities to attack, Su Yu waved his hand and sent them flying with a 5-color divine light. The huge stone door was also sent flying. With a light step, Su Yu went underground without thinking and went down the long stairs to the underground chamber. It was a rather vast underground space. A young man with a ramrod-straight figure sat cross-legged in a boiling pool of blood. He was about 30 years old, with dark skin, a fierce look, and a strong, murderous aura between his eyebrows. On the top of his head, a trace of blood-red silk thread was constantly pulled out from the top of his skull. Every time a trace was pulled out, his aura rose a little. Oh, what a coincidence! Breaking through to the late-stage prospective deity. Suyu murmured, looking at the blood-red silk thread with cold eyes. Those blood-red silk threads were like illusions, entwining between the soul. Every time a trace was pulled out, the blood thread struggled and released a trace of demonic energy. Suyu was no stranger to this thing, especially when he had just returned from the demon race. It was a heart demon. Long-term obsession and depression could give birth to a heart demon, hindering cultivation and enlightenment. The young man in front of him must have resolved the long-lost obsession and depression and began to gradually resolve the heart demon. Judging from the gradual growth of his cultivation, he should be breaking through to the late-stage prospective deity. Dong dong dong. Gongsun Wuxia trotted all the way, and when the scene in front of her fell in her eyes, her beautiful crystal eyes rose with hatred. Gongsun Shan, after torturing my father to death, you finally vented the grievances in your heart for many years and began to break through? Gongsun Wuxia's body was trembling. She recalled the inhumane torture her father had suffered before he died, and his face had been changed beyond recognition. Gongsun Wuxia's slender body flickered, and she rushed forward, intending to interrupt his breakthrough. As soon as he moved, Suyu pressed his shoulder gently. Don't act rashly. He is surrounded by the divine enchantment set up by the Gongsun deity. If you rush over, you will be burned on the spot. With a flick of his finger, a wisp of mortal fairy's strength shot toward Gongsun Shan. When it was 1,000 feet away from him, there was a ripple in the void, as if it had struck a soft membrane. Then, the mortal fairy's strength burned silently. Even a mortal fairy's power was like this, let alone Gongsun Wuxia. I was wondering who it was that made such a ruckus in the Gongsun mansion. So it's you, bitch. I don't know where you found this wild man. Gongsun Shan, who was in seclusion, slowly opened his eyes and sneered. Gongsun Shan. Gongsun Wuxia could not suppress her killing intent, and her hatred soared to the sky. Hee, this expression is exactly the same as your father's when he died. It's really pleasing to the eye. Gongsun Shan had a cruel grin at the corner of his mouth. Do you know how your father was tortured in the end? He was begging me. Gongsun Shan's smile became ferocious, and he laughed wildly. The blood in his body was extracted faster. He begged me not to hurt you anymore, but I refused. I told him that after he died, I would let you die a horrible death, 100 times more miserable than him. I would give you to the demons and eat you alive. Gongsun Shan said, so he regretted giving birth to you and giving you a painful life. That scene was so wonderful. Ha ha. Immersed in the pleasure of revenge, Gongsun Shan's inner demons receded even faster, and his momentum soared sharply. Gongsun Wuxia's eyes were filled with tears. Her father died so painfully, and before he died, he was still thinking about her. You beast! Gongsun Wuxia clenched her fists, and there was only hatred left in her eyes. She would spend the rest of her life in hatred and pain. It's ridiculous. Your father robbed my woman and had an affair with her, giving birth to a bastard like you, making me a disgrace to the Great Western Alliance. How many people still laugh at me? Do you know how much pain I have suffered all these years? Gongsun Shan snapped, and his eyes were full of hatred. Your father's selfish actions caused me so much harm. Have you forgotten? Ha ha! Suddenly, Suyu, who had not spoken, looked up to the sky and laughed. Gongsun Shan said coldly, what are you laughing at? I'm laughing at the airs cultivated by the Gongsun family. They are too unbearable. Suyu laughed. You are the perpetrator, but you regard yourself as the victim. It was clear that you were lustful and jealous, and persecuted their marriage. In the end, you could not get it, and you were ridiculed. Instead of repentance, you blame Wuxia's father for being selfish? According to your theory, I fancy your woman, and you're not allowed to resist. Resistance is selfish and brings harm to me. As expected, Only the Gongsun clan can cultivate such a self-centered face. Gongsun Shan did not care. What is my identity? What is the identity of that mediocre bitch? Only my identity is worthy of such a marriage. Do this, not only for the good of Fei but also for the good of the Gongsun family, and more importantly, for the good of the Alliance Master. If you want to blame someone, blame yourself for being poor. Suyu shook his head after listening to such high-sounding bandit logic. This kind of narcissistic, self-centered thinking was really not something that could be communicated with words. I don't know who you are, but since you dared to break into the Gongsun mansion, you must be prepared to be cut into pieces, right? Gongsun Shan grinned. When I break through to the late-stage perspective deity, I will do it myself. Oh, it will be best to do it in front of Wuxia. The remorseful expression of the father and daughter is really wonderful. Suyu shrugged. Speaking of which, you are very confident in resolving your inner demons and breaking through to the late-stage perspective deity. Of course, the knot in my heart has been unraveled for many years, from repression to eruption, and breaking through to the late-stage perspective deity is a matter of course. This is all thanks to the miserable fate of the father and daughter. Ha! Gongsun Shan laughed. When I come out of isolation, I will let the two of you taste the pain of death again. Suyu touched his chin. It's really strange. Wuxia's father is not dead, but you are so happy. Hey, is it because you're looking forward to your woman marrying him, so the knot in your heart has been unraveled? What? Gongsun Wuxia trembled all over. Her father was not dead? Haha, what a joke. I tortured him to death with my own hands. There is no need to shake my mind here and affect my breakthrough. I am breaking through to the late-stage perspective deity. No one can stop me. Gongsun Shan smiled and took it as a joke. I never lie. So you also smiled. An emerald dragon swam in his left palm, and he pointed it at the 9-jade spiritual pearl on his arm. In the 9-jade spiritual pearl, a group of emerald light gradually reconstructed a human figure. His eyebrows were relaxed, calm, and restrained. Who else could it be but the Duanxian Cliffmaster? Suyu's body contained the 10 real dragon spirit veins that the Duanxian Cliffmaster had refined, and his breath remained. It was easy to resurrect him. The Duanxian Cliffmaster was at a loss, and his face still showed the pain of death. Where's this? Duanxian Cliffmaster. I am here to inform you on the orders of my master. Master? Who? Suyu. The Duanxian Cliffmaster's pupil shrank. My master used a great magical power to restrain your body and soul at the moment of your death and reconstruct your body. He is waiting for you in the outside world right now. After saying that, a space filled, and the Duanxian Cliffmaster, who was still confused, was swept out. The first thing he saw was Suyu's familiar face. Although he still had great doubts in his heart, he knew that the young girl was telling the truth. He immediately knelt down gratefully. Thank you, Mr. Su, for saving my life. F.A. Father. Gongsun Wuxia opened her mouth wide in disbelief. Her father's body was deliberately carried to her. He was absolutely dead. Why did he suddenly appear beside Suyu? The Duanxian Cliffmaster trembled and suddenly looked up. His eyes were filled with tears, and he hugged Gongsun Wuxia tightly. Wuxia, you are fine. It was Brother Suyu who saved me. Father, how are you alive? Gongsun Wuxia stuttered, unable to believe the scene in front of her. The Duanxian Cliffmaster was stunned. It was Mr. Su. He used a great magical power to save me when I was dying. Although it could not be explained, it was the only possibility. The father and daughter were reunited, safe and sound. The heartwarming scene stimulated someone. Puff! A mouthful of blood spurted out. Gongsun Shan, who had been struck by lightning, could not bear the situation in front of him. His inner demons quickly reversed, and his blood flowed in reverse. He spat out a mouthful of blood. Brother Gongsun, are you also happy for the reunion of father and daughter? You were so excited that you vomited blood. Really? Impossible. Gongsun Shan's mouth was full of blood, and his eyes widened. Suyu said, Nothing is impossible. I can use my great magical power to save his soul and rebuild his body. What's impossible about that? He waved his hand. Well, I will take the father and daughter to meet the eighth woman. Now that the family is reunited, Brother Gongsun can practice hard. Hearing this, the infinite blood flowed back even more rapidly, and in the blink of an eye, many days of hard training were in vain. Staring at the intact father and daughter, the shame in his heart condensed again. He could not let them leave, otherwise he would become a greater joke. Pop! With a loud noise, the enchantment set by the Gongsun deity was opened by Gongsun Shan. None of you can leave. Behind him, Gongsun Shan's low roar came. At the same time, there was a suffocating divine oppression that made the father and daughter suffocate. Lowly ants, this time I'll make sure you're dead. With a loud shout, Gongsun Shan flickered like a ghost, and the majestic divine power turned into a golden spear of 1,000 feet, piercing the sky, annihilating the father and daughter and Suyu. Bang! Suyu's mouth evoked a faint smile. He was finally fooled and walked out of the enchantment. His whole body flashed with golden light, and the gold of the 5 elements covered his fists. At the same time, the 2 celestial spirits in his body released their divine power and condensed it on his fist, colliding with the golden spear. Boom! The golden spear collapsed in one blow, and along the spear, the golden fist was like a dragon, all the way to Gongsun Shan's chest. Bang! With a loud noise, Gongsun Shan was like a stone that was smashed and slammed into the stone wall of the underground secret room, causing a violent tremor. Chapter 1262. How could a mere third-realm mortal fairy be able to exert divine power? I didn't break your body. Do you have a good defensive item on you? Is it an imitation of an emperor-based saint artifact? So you walked over calmly. Gongsun Shan's eyes were full of fear. You can take them away. I will not stop you, but if you don't force me to take action, you will die, and I will live. Yes, you die, and I will live. Suyu's eyes flashed, and he stepped forward. Along with the shroud, there was also the overwhelming power of the 5 elements. After many days of refining, even gods could be suppressed, let alone a middle-stage prospective god. Feeling the strong oppression, Gongsun Shan screamed, bent his legs, and raised his arms to resist. However, when the power of the 5 elements completely pressed down, his legs were crushed, and he screamed in pain. He was suppressed to the ground by the power of the 5 elements and could no longer move. Suyu walked in front of him and said lightly, "Tell me, who else do you want to make miserable?" Gongsun Shan's eyes were full of fear, and only then did he know what kind of powerful existence he was facing. Even a late-stage prospective deity might not be able to do this. Are you a god? So you touched his chin. Sort of the acting god of the Great Eastern Alliance. Gongsun Shan's heart was beating fast. Those who could become an acting god were never weaker than the original gods. He glanced at Gongsun Wuxia vaguely, and his hatred was restrained. He thought to himself, this bitch, she actually knows the acting god. On his face, he begged for mercy. I will no longer pursue the responsibility of the father and daughter, and from now on, I can swear. He didn't pursue it, but his father could. Suyu laughed. You still don't change your nature, and you still think that the father and daughter owe you. A glimmer of cold light filled the air, and Suyu showed a grim smile. You persecuted them in the past, causing them to lose their families. Now you persecuted them again, tortured the Duanshin Cliff Master to death, and sent Gongsun Wuxia to the demons. These 2 debts, have you ever thought about it? Gongsun Shan's eyes turned sharply, and he felt great hatred in his heart. This was the retribution that the father and daughter deserved, but his face showed remorse again. Yes, I was wrong. Forget it. It's hard to change one's nature. If you want to be forgiven with just a few words, your sins are too easy to wash away. Then what do you want? A tooth for a tooth, an eye for an eye, of course. Suyu pressed his 5 fingers together, and the power of 5 elements came crashing down. With a scream like a pig being slaughtered, Gongsun Shan's body was crushed, leaving only his soul and God-source origin. Shwa, with a flip of his palm, a black cage appeared in his palm. It was the demon god cage. With a flash of demonic light, Gongsun Shan's soul was swept away. Having lost his physical body, Gongsun Shan knew that Su Yu would never let him go. His face became ferocious again, and he screamed, "Bitch! My father won't let you off. Don't worry. I will reunite you father and son." As soon as the demonic light retracted, his soul was sucked into it. Not long after, he heard a shrill scream. His consciousness was quickly erased by the cage. Soon, the scream stopped, and a mass of ownerless god, source origin, flew out. Holding in his palm for a while, he looked back at the Duanshin Cliffmaster. "I'll give you a chance to become a god." With that, he threw it to the Duanshin Cliffmaster. "What? Give it to me." "This." The Duanshin Cliffmaster's hands trembled. He couldn't believe that Su Yu would give him such a precious god source origin. "Oh, if you can become a god yourself, then you won't need it." Seizing the god source origin of others would result in a very low level of achievement. They were called man-made gods, and they were much weaker than ordinary gods. The Duanshin Cliffmaster hurriedly said, "Yes, you can use it. How can you not use it?" Becoming a god was the dream of all the mortal fairies. However, can I leave it for Wuxia? She didn't inherit the divine blood of the Gongsun bloodline, and she has no hope of becoming a god in this life. So you said casually, "You can use it first. When Wuxia becomes a peak mortal fairy, I will find another one." His tone was as if digging up the god source origin of an early-stage prospective deity was as easy as taking something out of his pocket. Thinking back carefully, Su Yu just suppressed Gongsun Shan so easily. It was really like taking something out of his pocket. The Gongsun father and daughter were stunned. When they were in the Great Eastern Alliance, Su Yu was famous. The father and daughter knew about it, but they didn't have the power to kill a middle-stage prospective deity so easily. It could only be said that Su Yu had left for 2 years, and his strength had improved qualitatively. "All right, let's go." Su Yu strode out of the underground secret room and looked around at the guards who dared not come forward. His eyes flashed, and he shot a glance at a housekeeper hiding in the distance. Swish, 5 colors flashed, and he teleported in front of the housekeeper, pressed his shoulder, and said coldly, "Where is the Gongsun deity?" There was no trace of him in the mansion. The housekeeper trembled, almost thinking that he was going to die, and said shakily, "He is holding an alliance meeting." Alliance meeting? No wonder no god showed up despite such a huge commotion. Pushing him away, Su Yu said, "Forget it, for the sake of the alliance. I will not go there and make a scene. When the Gongsun deity comes back, tell him that I have taken his precious son away, and if he wants him, come to the Julie Cavern world to find me." After saying that, he left with the Gongsun father and daughter. Everyone was stunned, and no one dared to chase after them. Damn it, he is so arrogant. What does he mean by not making a scene for the alliance? What the hell, what an eye-opener. He is so arrogant and presumptuous. He took away the Gongsun family's young master and asked the Gongsun deity to go and see him. Yes, he is too damn arrogant. I wish I could have such a day. The housekeeper's face was gloomy. Looking around at the messy mansion, his heart sank to the bottom. A small substitute deity had destroyed the Gongsun family, and even the young master had been taken away. Such a shame was far worse than the escape of his family members. The thought of losing more than the gain emerged in the housekeeper's mind. "Shut up." Hearing the guard's words getting more and more outrageous, the housekeeper scolded, "Send someone to the outside of the Alliance Master's palace immediately. When a family master comes out, inform me immediately." In the eyes of the housekeeper, it was as if the sky had collapsed. In addition, all the news here is blocked, and no one is allowed to leak it. The housekeeper thought of something and warned sternly. However, looking at the crowd watching from afar, the housekeeper felt bitter in his heart. Soon, the Alliance City was in an uproar. The Gongsun family, one of the top 10 anti-demon families, was attacked by a mysterious person. Their mansion was destroyed, and their young master was taken away. What was more arrogant was that they asked the Gongsun deity to go to the Julie Cavern world to pick up the young master. "Hey, have you heard? A ruthless person has come to the Alliance City. Do you need to tell me? The substitute deity of the Great Eastern Alliance, right? The one who destroyed the Gongsun Mansion and took away the young master? Hey, this is not news. The news is that many strong people of the Alliance are rushing to the Julie Cavern world to see the true face of this ruthless person. Why is the substitute deity of the Great Eastern Alliance so arrogant? I have lived for a long time. How dare he attack the anti-demon families? What's so great about him? He just made a scene when the Gongsun deity is not at home. Idiot. After making a scene, will you ask the Gongsun deity to go to pick up the young master? According to the people who came back from the Julie Cavern world, he is waiting there. Damn, the Great Western Alliance is going to be lively. Let's go and see who he is. The Julie Cavern world was an independent cavern world not far from the Great Western Alliance. It was invaded by the demons many years ago. After the fall of the Julie deity, most of the cavern worlds were devoured, leaving only a small part of them. In a dilapidated pavilion on a desolate mountain, Suyu sat with his legs crossed, waiting for the Gongsun deity quietly. Unidentified, strong people came from the vicinity of the mountain one after another. However, they did not dare to approach within 1,000 feet of the mountain. There was a thick red line, which formed a circle covering 1,000 feet of the mountain. Inside the circle, there were several corpses of mortal fairies scattered. That is the famous 2MO. How could he die here? A latecomer saw one of the corpses and gasped. Why? He didn't listen to the warning and broke into the circle. He was killed by a single blow. What a pity. Although 2MO is arrogant, it is a pity that such a powerful peak mortal fairy died like this. If it is a pity for him, look over there. Isn't it more pitiful? Following his gaze, the latecomer's scalp went numb. He said in a trembling voice, an early-stage prospective deity, Lang Lixing, who ranks third among the rogue martial artists of the Great Western Alliance. He is proficient in the flying escape technique. How could he be killed? Ha, ha, ha. Lang Lixing thought his escape technique was excellent. He teased the substitute deity of the Great Eastern Alliance and planned to run away after entering the circle. As a result, the substitute deity teleported and killed him with a palm. His celestial energy sphere was taken away directly. Teleportation. He is just a stage 3 mortal fairy. Ha, ha. Anyway, those corpses are lying on the ground. No one dares to approach the circle anymore. In the pavilion, the Gongsun father and daughter looked at the increasing number of strong men and felt uneasy. Things seemed to be getting out of hand. Mr. Su, why don't we just forget about it? Anyway, I am not dead. Wuxia is safe and sound, and Gongsun Shan has been suppressed by you. Why we have to fight with the Gongsun deity? If we return to the Great Eastern Alliance, can he still fight back? Suyu said lightly, let me correct you. I'm not here to fight, but to negotiate peacefully with the Gongsun deity. Hearing this, Gongsun Wuxia almost stumbled and fell off the cliff. That's right. In order to negotiate calmly, he destroyed the other party's residence and captured their young master. What kind of peaceful negotiation was this? If the Gongsun deity really comes, he will not be reasonable. Mr. Su, are you sure you can deal with him? Suyu pointed to himself. Who am I? I am the substitute deity of the Great Eastern Alliance. We are both deities. Who is afraid of whom? The Duanxing Cliffmaster was embarrassed. He thought to himself, are the deities of the two of you comparable? With anxiety and uneasiness, they waited quietly, silently watching the increasing number of people of the Western Alliance. Chapter 1263. I guess all of you have heard about the changes in the realm of devils. Although we don't know the reason, the giant did extend his finger out of the realm of devils. A majestic middle-aged man said as a picture appeared in his palm. That was the scene when Su Yu and the others were crushed by the giant. What do you think? The Alliance master glanced at a dark-skinned, middle-aged man at the end of the table. The man said, I have some ideas. The Alliance master said with a smile, Gongsun deity, please. The rest of the deities looked on coldly. They knew the Alliance master had a close relationship with the Gongsun family, and he intended to let the Gongsun family, which was ranked last, stand out. First, find out who the giant is. It is rare for the giant to attack the realm of devils, so they must be very important to the realm of devils. We can definitely get important information from them. Second, find out the voice that repelled the realm of devils. He must be a powerful man who will be of great help to us in fighting against the devil tribe. Third, no matter what, the realm of devils will be in turmoil, and we must take precautions. After hearing that, the Alliance Master said approvingly, "What he said is exactly what I am thinking. Do you have anything to add?" The family masters were silent. They didn't know the details until now. What could they add? However, the Gongsun deity, who had been summoned by the Alliance Master before the meeting, should know the details in advance, so he could put forward feasible suggestions so quickly. Seeing the deities were silent, the Gongsun deity smiled contentedly. With the help of the Alliance Master, the Gongsun family had been thriving in the past 10 years. They had accumulated strength secretly and made many meritorious deeds that even the top 3 families were jealous of. In a few years, the Gongsun family would be ranked in the top 5 families. If not, we will carry out a thorough investigation. The Alliance Master made the final decision. At this time, a lazy voice came in. "Gongsun deity, you said you would take precautions, but why haven't you reached an agreement with the envoy of the Great Eastern Alliance? It has been half a year, and you have made no progress." The deities were amused. The speaker was from the Glittering family, which was ranked 5th in the realm of devils. If nothing unexpected happened, their ranking would be forcibly taken by the Gongsun clan in a few years. If they were to rely on their own strength, the Glittering family would have nothing to say. But for so many years, the alliance leader had been biased and had dragged the Glittering family down many times, resulting in the current situation. How could the Glittering family be willing to let this go? Over the years, the Glittering clan had been at odds with the Gongsun clan. Gongsun deity frowned. Forming an alliance is of great importance. Therefore, the detailed negotiation will definitely take up a lot of time. Haha, why did I hear that your precious son was lustful again and insisted on marrying the daughter of the Saint God, which caused the stalemate? Such a detailed discussion is really in line with the style of the Gongsun family, Glittering deity said with a faint smile. Hearing this, no matter how well-mannered the gods were, they couldn't help but laugh. They had more or less heard about this matter. The gods of the Great Eastern Alliance had no reason to oppose the alliance. However, after half a year, there had been no progress in the negotiation. They knew a little about the reason. Besides the high requirements of the Great Western Alliance, the biggest reason was that the Gongsun family, who was responsible for the negotiation, made trouble. Gongsun deity hoped that the Gongsun family could become the link between the Great Eastern Alliance and the Great Western Alliance. Therefore, he requested the Gongsun deity, who represented the Great Eastern Alliance, to marry the Gongsun deity, who represented the Great Western Alliance. Gongsun Shan happened to like the daughter of the Saint God, Sheng Yuanxin. The Great Eastern Alliance wouldn't agree, which was why it had been delayed until now. This matter was not a secret. Gongsun deity couldn't hide it even if he wanted to. Humph. I'm doing this for the good of the 2 alliances. Only in this way can we strengthen our trust. Oh, then why does your precious son have to marry the daughter of the Glittering family? Any one of the young elites of my Glittering Jewel family is stronger than that perverted son of yours. Hearing this, the Gongsun family burst into laughter again. Gongsun Shan was lustful and tried to steal the daughter of the Saint God. However, he was betrayed by the Gongsun family, which was still a great shame for the Gongsun family. Glittering deity, please show some respect. Gongsun deity's eyes became gloomy. Glittering deity said with a smile, "You are capable of doing these things, but you don't allow others to talk about it? How arrogant you are!" To be honest, many families hated the Gongsun family. Therefore, none of the 10 great families was willing to speak up for the Gongsun family. Suddenly, Gongsun deity rolled his eyes and sneered. "If you want to talk about these things, why did your ancestor turn to the demon tribe and become a demon god? It's a disgrace for a disloyal family like yours to be the first family to resist the demon tribe." Glittering deity became serious and didn't refute him. 10,000 years ago, glittering Hongshun, a proud daughter of the heaven, betrayed the Great Western Alliance and became a member of the demon tribe, which had an indescribable impact on the glittering family. Even now, the glittering family was still speechless when it was mentioned, because it was a fact. Because of this, although the glittering family had made great contributions to the demon tribe and was always at the forefront of fighting against the demon tribe, it should have been ranked in the top 3 in terms of strength and merits. But because of this, the 5th family had to be wronged. Ha! Ha! You have nothing to say, right? Gongsun deity said with a cold smile, I suggest that the glittering family should be removed from the position of the anti-demon family in the next ranking. That's enough. An old and indifferent voice interrupted Gongsun deity's words. Hearing this, all the deities looked over at the same time. The person who spoke had a head full of white hair and an aged expression. Since the beginning of the meeting, he had kept his eyes closed and had not spoken a word. However, nobody dared to look down on him. Even the Alliance Master was afraid of him. He was Shimin Jian, the family master of the first anti-demon family. In terms of foundation, the Shimin family was the closest to the Alliance Master's family. It was rumored that the hidden strength of the Shimin family had surpassed that of the Alliance Master's family. According to many rumors, the Shimin family would compete for the position of the Alliance Master when a ranking of the anti-demon families was renewed. The Alliance Master's fear of the Shimin family was evident. Shimin Jian opened his cloudy eyes and stared at Gongsun deity calmly. What's the point of mentioning this matter again in the past 10,000 years? According to what you said, all the new anti-demon families, including the Gongsun family, were just ordinary deities 10,000 years ago. How could they be qualified to take the position of the anti-demon families? Don't you care about the past and ignore the contributions made in the past 10,000 years? Aren't you afraid of disappointing the anti-demon families? Glittering deity bowed to Gongsun deity in silence. Many anti-demon families also shook their heads at Gongsun deity. Gongsun deity felt humiliated and was full of hatred. However, he didn't dare to show his anger in front of Shimin Jian. From now on, don't blame me for being rude to anyone who mentions this kind of thing again, Shimin Jian said fiercely. His words made the atmosphere in the meeting awkward. The Alliance Master tried to smooth things over. Ha ha. Shimin deity, don't be angry. Let's call it a day. Flying Dragon deity will be in charge of investigating the people who escaped from the demon realm. Heartless deity will be in charge of investigating the owner of the roaring sound. If there are no other opinions, wait. Shimin Jian interrupted the Alliance Master's words. The Flying Dragon deity still has important matters to attend to and has no time to spare. The Heartless deity has yet to recover from his serious injuries, so it's inconvenient for him to investigate. We have so many anti-demon clans. Why would we hand this task to the 2 most unsuitable people? The other anti-demon families sneered in their hearts. The Flying Dragon deity family, the Heartless deity family, and the Gongsun deity family were the supporters of the Alliance Master. All the important tasks were entrusted to them to increase their merit points. They had been dissatisfied with such partiality for a long time. Now, Shimin Jian rarely showed up, so they should cooperate with him and strongly oppose him. The 10 great aristocratic families and 7 great aristocratic families had jointly opposed it. Even though he was the Alliance Master, he could not act arbitrarily. In your opinion, who should we entrust this task to? The Alliance Master, who was very shrewd, didn't show his emotions. I will investigate the owner of the roaring sound. No one can compete with the Shimin family in terms of information, right? Shimin Jian recommended himself. The glittering deity took the opportunity to act. Let the glittering family clan handle the investigation of the group of people who escaped from the devil world. We are the most sensitive to the devil race. The group of people who escaped are most likely from the devil race. The glittering family clan is the most suitable for this task. Hearing this, the other 4 families agreed. A trace of coldness flashed in the Alliance Master's eyes, but his face was as warm as usual. Very good. You two deities are willing to work for the Great Western Alliance. This is the guarantee of the Great Western Alliance's prosperity. Okay, I will entrust these two tasks to you. After the meeting ended, all the deities had their own thoughts. The restriction formation was lifted, and all the deities left. He, Shimin Jian, who has always been low-key, suddenly became high-profile. Just as the rumor said, he wants to be the Alliance Master. Who can't see it? He supported the glittering deity on the spot, which means he is trying to rope in the glittering family. This is interesting. The Alliance Master is having a hard time. It's still too early. The Alliance Master has been working for so many years. How can he be kicked out so easily? If I were Shimin Jian, I'd better be careful not to have any accidents at this critical moment. A deity said meaningfully. Shoo, be careful. When the deities walked out of the Alliance Master's mansion, they received important messages from their families almost at the same time. During the meeting, something big happened in the Alliance City. The Gongsun family was destroyed. The heir of the Gongsun family, Gongsun Shan, was also kidnapped. More importantly, the kidnappers asked the Gongsun deity to go to the Julie Cavern world to pick him up. When most of the deities heard the news, their first reaction was that it was fake news. However, when they glanced at the mansion of the Gongsun family, the quiet ruins told them everything. Ha ha ha, this is going to be a big show. The most beloved son of Gongsun deity has been taken away by someone. How can the Gongsun deity save his face? He was so arrogant at the meeting, but he didn't know that his home had been destroyed. Let's go and have a look. Let's see how the kidnappers will deal with this. In the Julie Cavern world, Suyu opened his eyes slowly. Chapter 1264. Master Su, will the Gongsun deity come? The Duanqian Cliffmaster frowned as he looked at the increasing number of onlookers. Of course not, Suyu said. Ah, the Gongsun father and daughter opened their mouths. If you knew the Gongsun deity would not come, why are you waiting here? This is a matter of pride. It would be strange if the Gongsun deity would come. Suyu's eyes lit up as if he had seen the Gongsun deity's every move. I guess he will ask the deities under his command to catch us. Then you. The Duanqian Cliffmaster was extremely puzzled. Suyu looked at the father and daughter. Of course, I will kill the Gongsun deity. It is hard to guarantee that there are no cronies who want to avenge him. I can't be so lucky to save you every time. Therefore, it is necessary to eliminate evil. In fact, he had another purpose, but it was not convenient to tell the Gongsun father and daughter before he succeeded. The Gongsun father and daughter looked at each other and thought Suyu was crazy. One deity could kill them, let alone 10 deities under the command of the Gongsun deity. With a wry smile, the two were silent. Suyu saved their lives. If he was willing to go crazy, then they would go crazy with him. The Gongsun family. The Gongsun deity, who had left the Alliance Palace with satisfaction, rushed back to his mansion as soon as he got the news from a butler. Looking at the mansion that had been razed to the ground, he could not believe his eyes. Who had the guts to destroy the mansion of a demon-fighting family? No, they had also captured Gongsun Shan, a middle-stage prospective deity. Guards! The Gongsun deity roared in a low voice, his eyes full of anger. The deities under his command who had returned with him appeared immediately. My lord, please instruct us. The 10 of them stood in order, glancing at the mansion from the corner of their eyes. They could not help but feel frightened. Who was the one who didn't want to live and did such a disgraceful thing? The thief destroyed my mansion and captured Gongsun Shan when I was not here. Now he is in the Julie Cavern world. You will split into 2 groups. One group will place the world-breaking spell, and the other group will enter to rescue Gongsun Shan. World-breaking spell? The deities were taken aback. The world-breaking talisman was a powerful talisman that could only be refined by the deities of the anti-demon families. It had the terrifying ability to destroy a cavern world. Once it was arranged around the cavern world and detonated, it would destroy the cavern world along with the creatures inside. Unless it was a god who could ignore the compression and destruction caused by the collapse of the cavern world, the rest of the creatures had no chance of survival. Sir, where are the other creatures? I heard that many living beings are heading there as well. Kill them all. They're also annoyed that they colluded with the thieves. The deities were speechless. This was the revenge of the Gongsun deity, who had even taken revenge on the creatures who had been watching the show. What if the thief holds Gongsun Shan hostage and uses him to make demands? The deity in charge of the rescue asked. Gongsun deity said fiercely, I will not accept any compromise. Are you 5 gods afraid of being threatened by them? Even if I place a restriction on his body, there's no need to be afraid. Even if I capture his soul, I will have a way to extract the method to remove the restriction. What if he has hurt Gongsun Shan? He didn't dare. He caught Gongsun Shan to negotiate with me. Don't worry, Gongsun Shan won't be hurt too much. Do it now. Yes. The 10 deities all dispersed and went to the Julie Cavern world in a mighty manner. As Suyu had expected, he didn't go in person. If he immediately went to a random thief who asked him to go, it would be too shameful. In the Julie Cavern world, there were mountains and seas of onlookers. There were both ordinary people and hidden deities who were watching the show quietly. Hey, I seem to feel the aura of 10 deities coming. Sure enough, the Gongsun deity will never come. Although I admire this guy for slapping the Gongsun deity in the face, it is not worth it to offend the Gongsun deity for him. Let's go. We have seen enough of the show. In the pavilion, Suyu slowly stood up and looked into the distance with a faint smile on his face. They are all here. Very well. I can solve them once and for all. Who is here? As a peak mortal fairy, the Duanshin Cliffmaster's perception was not as strong as Suyu's. Suyu laughed. No one, just the deities under the command of the Gongsun deity. How many are here? The Duanshin Cliffmaster held his breath. Only 10. Only 10. The Gongsun deity's pupils shrank sharply. What do you mean by only 10? That is the whole army, okay? Swish. As he spoke, 5 deities shrouded in divine light appeared in the Julie Cavern world. The strange thing was that the other 5 did not enter the Julie Cavern world. Instead, they quietly arranged something around the cavern world. After the 5 deities appeared, they looked directly at Suyu. Hand over Gongsun Shan. The deity responsible for the rescue shouted in front of Suyu. Suyu stood with his hands behind his back and said calmly, If I hand him over, you will kill me without a burial place. If I don't hand him over, you will also kill me without a burial place. It makes no difference whether I hand him over or not. Why should I hand him over? If you hand him over, you will die a quick death. If you don't hand him over, you will die a miserable death. The person in charge shouted coldly. You have violated the prestige of the anti-demon family. This crime is unforgivable. Don't take any chances. Today, you can't escape death. While you still have a choice, hand him over and I will give you a quick death. Suyu's eyes were filled with coldness. Then, I will also give you a choice. Now, when I'm not in a bad mood, you can either stand aside obediently or be killed by me one by one. Make your choice now. The person in charge shook his head for he had nothing to say. Attack. Destroy their bodies and detain their souls. Remember to take away all their magic treasures. There may be a small portable cavern world among them. Gongsun Shan should be in it. The person in charge shouted loudly. Then, he turned into a mass of divine light and teleported to Suyu. The other 4 deities teleported to Gongsun Shan and his daughter. They decided to detain them all at once, as fast as a sudden clap of thunder. However, right at this moment, the 5 gods suddenly felt an unusual fluctuation of divine power flashing by. The 9 jade spiritual light on Suyu's arm flickered. Then, 5 emerald green branches stretched out and whipped the 5 deities randomly. Just a slight touch of the branches sent the 5 deities flying backward, as if they had been electrocuted. You! The deities who were responsible for the rescue stared at the fluttering branches in shock. A divine-level expert. I haven't seen the sun for a long time. A familiar and sweet voice, which was as beautiful as the sounds of nature, appeared with the figure of a graceful and charming girl. It was an elegant and noble woman with picturesque features. She was wearing an exquisite emerald dress, which was floating in the breeze. She was as beautiful as a fairy. When the girl appeared, she stared at Suyu with her beautiful crystal eyes and said with a smile, "Thank you very much." She was the tree goddess who had been in a deep sleep for 2 years. The water of the bitter sea in her body was gradually dissolved under the control of the Milky Way star sand. Moreover, when she was in a coma, her body was planted in the supreme growing soil. When she woke up, her strength did not decrease, but increased. Judging from her aura, she was much stronger than before. She was even stronger than the all-access merchant god and the Shang deity. It seemed that she could also compete with the sixth princess. "It's my pleasure," Suyu replied with a smile. When he looked in her eyes, he felt that there was a trace of charm in her eyes. The tree goddess sensed it and turned her eyes to Gongsun Shan and his daughter. "Hey, an old friend from Jiuzhou." Gongsun Shan and her daughter were shocked and said, "You are the ancient bronze tree goddess." Her existence was not a secret. "Oh, call me Mrs. Su." "Mrs. Su." The Duanqing Cliff Master looked at Suyu and then at Suyu. He was stunned. Gongsun Wuxia was stunned for a moment. She pouted and stared at Suyu bitterly. "Oh, little girl, you are jealous. Rest assured, I will fulfill your wish. In this way, if he cheats, he will have to leave the family with nothing, and all the property will be mine, huh?" The tree goddess put her hands on her hips and laughed. "Wake up, it's dawn." Suyu was not surprised. "Let's get rid of the gods in front of us first." The tree goddess's smile did not diminish. She looked up and down at the 5 gods, and her eyes lit up. "Oh, look at your faces. There's a treasure light in your body from time to time. You must have a treasure with you. You are much richer than a group of poor gods in the Great Eastern Alliance. If I don't rob you, it will be intolerable." The 5 gods were glanced at by her, and for some reason, they all felt a chill. "What are you afraid of? 5 against 1. We have a great chance of winning." Even the Gongsun deity would lose in the case of 5 against 1. The tree goddess smiled gently. 5 against 1? Ha ha ha. Swish. She turned into a mass of green light and flashed in the center of the 5 gods, her body surging with magnificent divine power. The strength of the divine power shook the whole cavern world. As soon as she attacked, a god's body was smashed, and his soul was imprisoned by the tree goddess before it could escape. Her methods were fierce, and her strength was strong. She was totally different from the past. What? This is a god at the level of a master of an aristocratic family. The person in charge of the rescue was shocked and shouted, "The Breaking World team, requesting support. A strong enemy has appeared." Swish, swish, swish. Another 5 beams of divine light appeared and merged with them. There were a total of 9 gods. As if they were facing a great enemy, they stared at the elegant and beautiful woman with fear and dread. 8 of us will besiege her, and 1 of us will catch that guy. The person in charge of the rescue immediately analyzed the woman's weakness. What she cared most was the silver-haired youth who let her appear. Swish! Immediately, a beam of divine light flashed towards Suyu. The tree goddess stood still and said, "Be careful. Don't worry. I won't die. It's better for you to die. As a widow, all your belongings will belong to me." "Why did you ask me to be careful?" "Oh, I asked the idiot who attacked you to be careful." When the deities attacked, Suyu's lips curled into a faint sneer. He turned his palm over, and a golden book appeared in his hand. It was the Star River scripture. As he waved his hand, a large amount of demonic god's blood was sprayed on the book. Then, the Star River scripture was opened silently. Growl! Along with a deafening roar, a deity-level wild beast rushed out and crashed into the chest of the god who was close to it. Puff! Caught unprepared, the god was knocked away by the deity-level wild beast. Then, he fell into the Star River through the cavern world. What? A deity-level wild beast. The gods who besieged the tree goddess were shocked. Chapter 1265. The tree goddess said with a faint smile, "Take care of yourself first." She turned around. Her emerald dress fluttered in the wind, and countless emerald light spots were embellished around the cavern world like stars. The jade-green dots of light each shot out a jade-green ray of light that connected with each other, forming an incomparably huge net that enveloped all of them. The 8 deities were shocked. They tried to break the net, but they couldn't break it with their divine strength. Ha! Ha! Leave your treasures here. A deity screamed miserably after a charming laugh. Attack! Attack together! The remaining 7 deities were scared out of their wits by the powerful tree goddess. Unfortunately, they were killed one by one like sheep in the hands of the tree goddess. The deity who was knocked into the Star River shouted angrily and teleported back. Evil creature, you are seeking death. Boom! The deity-level wild beast was no match for Suyu. Half of its body was smashed into pieces. After all, it was subdued by the book deity. After being dealt with, its strength was reduced. Therefore, its combat ability was lower than that of an ordinary deity. However, Suyu had more tricks up his sleeves. Go! The 5 elements mountain appeared in Suyu's palm. Then, he threw it into the air. Like a mountain, it covered the deity's head. The deity sensed something was wrong, so he teleported away. Strangely, once the 5 elements mountain locked onto him, it also teleported away and landed rapidly. The deity teleported more than 100 times, but he still couldn't get rid of the 5 elements mountain. With a reluctant roar, the deity was crushed to the bottom of the cavern world by the 5 elements mountain. Then, the deity fell into the Star River. Under the suppression of the 5 elements mountain, he could only use his divine strength slightly. However, he couldn't get rid of the 5 elements mountain. This scene shocked everyone. Even a deity was suppressed by the 5 elements mountain. What on earth is that colorful mountain? If they knew the demonic god of 6 paths had been suppressed by the 5 elements mountain, they wouldn't be surprised. The difference was that only half of the demonic god of 6 paths' body was pressed into the ground. However, the deity in front of them fell into the depths of the Star River. However, the deity didn't fall for long because the deity chased after him greedily. Not long after, an incomparably miserable scream came from the depths of the galaxy. After a while, the god-level wild beast returned with a mouth full of blood and a dying divine soul in its mouth. Very good. Suyu waved his hand and pressed the dying divine soul deep into the space between his brows. In a certain space, an excited voice came, "Kaka, divine soul, I know you love me." Ha ha ha. The corners of Suyu's mouth twitched. He retrieved the 5 elements mountain and the scripture of mountains and rivers. Then, he glanced at the countless stunned onlookers. As someone who had killed countless deities, Suyu didn't feel that killing a deity was shocking at all. Under the countless gazes, he looked at the emerald green net calmly. After being killed by the tree goddess, there were less than 6 gods left, and all of them were injured. Suyu walked to the front of the net and looked indifferently at the deities who were suffocating under the pressure. When they were stared at by Suyu, all of their hair stood on end, as if they were being stared at by a ferocious tiger outside its cage. The scene of him killing a god in a few moves shocked them to the core. Do you also want to come in and have some fun? The tree goddess was in high spirits. After killing one, she would plunder the treasures of the dead deity. Now, she was a bit unwilling to let Suyu come in to rob her treasures. Hearing this, the remaining 6 deities were desperate. Do you still want to choose? Suyu asked. What? The 6 deities were shocked. The deity who was responsible for the rescue said hurriedly, as if he had found a life-saving straw, Please show mercy to us. We won't interfere in this matter anymore. Please spare our lives." The 10 aggressive deities were killed in the blink of an eye. Now 4 of them were killed. Who wouldn't be scared? Although the Great Western Alliance had a strict hierarchy, those who disobeyed the families would be punished. However, the 2 ferocious deities in front of them could kill them. That was the choice I gave you before. I asked you to stand aside obediently. However, you didn't listen to me. Now I won't give you such a good opportunity. So you said coldly, "Now, you only have 2 choices. One is to surrender to me, and the other is to be killed by him and plunder all your treasures. Which one will you choose?" Surrender? The deities looked bitter. It was only a little bit better than death. Can we, the deity who was responsible for the rescue, try to bargain with them? No, don't count on luck. If you think I won't kill you, you can choose to refuse to surrender to me. The 6 deities' eyelids twitched. Are you kidding me? You have killed so many deities. How could you not dare to kill them? The 6 deities looked at each other helplessly. A good death was better than a bad life. They all had families. Once they died, their families would definitely decline. No, I haven't plundered enough. It's not easy for me to meet a bunch of rich guys. You don't know how poor I am. The tree goddess was the first to disagree. Suyu said angrily, "Then, do you still want to go back to the growing soil to continue your cultivation?" "Yes." "Then put a restriction on them. Don't kill them again." "Can I kill one more?" "Just one more. Please." "I'm too poor, no." Suyu stared at her. "Humph. You are so stingy." The tree goddess put a restriction on them angrily. The woman in front of them wanted to kill all of them. So, the 6 deities didn't dare to give her any excuse to kill them. Before she approached them, they lowered their heads and didn't dare to breathe heavily. They were afraid that she would find an excuse to kill them if they looked at her. After putting a restriction on them successfully, the tree goddess walked back discontentedly. Then, she put 6 emerald seals into Suyu's hand. These are the restrictions of the ancient bronze tree goddess. They can't break them unless they find another ancient bronze tree goddess, the tree goddess said. Gods of the 5 elements had a unique advantage in the art of sealing. Most of the wood deities were good at sealing, which could be seen when she helped Suyu seal the curse left by the Central Prefecture's king. The tree goddess glanced at Suyu's chest and said with a frown, "When you are free, I will reinforce the seal for you. Previously, I was too weak to block the curse completely." When she put the seal on Suyu, she was seriously injured. But now, she was a real deity. Suyu frowned slightly. "Actually, I don't know who the father of the Central Prefecture's king is. I don't know whether the demonic god sensed my existence when I came back from the realm of demons." When the deities under Suyu's control walked over, they were shocked. The one who escaped from the realm of demons and attracted the attack of the giant of the realm of demons was you. The entire Great Western Alliance was shocked by this incident. Suyu was a bit surprised. "Yes. Is there any problem?" The 6 deities were dumbfounded by Suyu's words. All the deities, including the Alliance Master, believed the one who escaped from the realm of demons must be a demon. This was because there had never been a precedent of any other living being leaving the demon realm alive. "I didn't expect it was you, my master." The deities changed their words hurriedly. Then, they informed Suyu about the details of the meeting. "Oh, the Great Western Alliance wants to know what happened in the realm of demons?" Suyu was surprised. Something strange happened in the realm of demons. "Okay, I will visit the glittering deity when I have time. Why don't we invite the glittering deity here? Finding you will be a meritorious deed. I believe the glittering deity will come here in person." "No, you should keep this matter secret. Let's deal with the Gongsun deity first." Hearing that, the 6 deities were embarrassed. They were ordered to capture Suyu. However, they didn't expect Suyu would set a restrictive spell on them. "Send a message to the Gongsun deity and ask him to come here to see me," Suyu said coldly. As the deities under the command of the Gongsun deity, they surely had a way to contact the Gongsun deity. "Let me do it." The deity who was responsible for the rescue was the most trusted subordinate of the Gongsun deity. He was a Yu deity of the Yu clan. He took out a crystal ball, which could transmit images and messages to the Gongsun deity immediately. After he injected his divine strength into the crystal ball started to shine. After a short while, a clear image appeared in the crystal ball along with a dull sound. The Gongsun deity, who was standing in the ruins of his mansion with his arms crossed, said indifferently, "Is it done? Have you captured his soul?" The Yu deity was embarrassed. Then he moved the crystal ball to Suyu and said, "Gongsun deity, you should be looking for him." The Gongsun deity frowned as he looked at the image of Suyu. "What are you doing? Why didn't you destroy his body and capture his soul? Also, what did you call me?" The Gongsun deity shouted as he sensed something was wrong. The Yu deity felt bitter in his heart. However, he knew it was time for him to make a decision. After taking a deep breath, the Yu deity scolded sternly, "Gongsun deity, you went against the flow and disregarded the lives of living beings. You tried to destroy the Jiuli cavern world and bury them all. the other deities, and I still have a conscience. Therefore, we have decided to abandon the darkness for the light and serve this Lord from now on." Then the crystal ball moved to the other deities. Seeing that, they shouted solemnly, "Gongsun deity, please forgive us for not being able to follow you." In the image of the crystal ball, the Gongsun deity was motionless as if he had been frozen. After a while, he asked in disbelief, "Did you betray me?" His trusted subordinates, who had been following him for many years, betrayed him. He was totally stunned by this sudden betrayal. The deity sighed, "Gongsun deity, if you continue to be stubborn, you will suffer a lot. Just apologize to this Lord and repent for your mistakes." Hearing that, the Gongsun deity's face turned red with anger. Then he almost spat out blood in anger. Can you not lie with your eyes wide open? He destroyed my mansion and kidnapped my child. Now, you want me to apologize to him and repent for my mistakes? What the hell is this?" The Gongsun deity was trembling with anger. The deity sighed calmly, "Alas, Gongsun deity, the sea of bitterness is boundless. Repent, and you will be saved." "Exactly. Just come here and apologize to him." "Gongsun deity, for the sake of our past friendship, I suggest you stop being stubborn and reflect on your mistakes." Puff! The Gongsun deity couldn't help but spit out a mouthful of blood. "Damn you! You destroyed my mansion and kidnapped my child. Now, you want me to apologize to you? How dare you? Fine, I will go there in person. Let's talk face to face." Bang! The crystal ball was destroyed by the Gongsun deity angrily. The deity looked at Suyu helplessly. Suyu said with a faint smile, "I am not afraid that he will come. I am afraid that he won't come. Just wait here quietly for a good show. I guess the person I am waiting for will arrive soon." The person? Who? Chapter 1266. Soon after that, the Julie Cavern world started to shake and was on the verge of collapse. A strong divine light pierced through the barrier of the Julie Cavern world and illuminated the whole sky. Many creatures in the cavern world prostrated themselves and trembled in fear. That was an extraordinary deity's fluctuation, which meant he was not an ordinary deity. Crack! A pitch-black crack was torn open in the cavern world. Then, a deity who was covered in golden light descended from it. "Gongsun deity is here as I expected. How could he not be here?" His trusted subordinates were either killed or betrayed him. How could he remain indifferent? Gongsun deity is in big trouble today. Not necessarily. The family head of one of the top 10 anti-demon families can't be that simple. The deity, who was standing behind Suyu, lowered his head subconsciously as he looked at the deity in the divine light. When he realized the situation, he raised his head reluctantly, but didn't dare to look into Gongsun deity's eyes. Gongsun deity looked at the 6 deities coldly and said, "Say it again. Who should apologize to us?" The 6 deities remained silent. None of them dared to say anything. "Say it." Gongsun deity's shouts scared the deity and the other deities. The Gongsun deity had been powerful for a long time, which scared them subconsciously. The deity and the other deities didn't dare to look into Gongsun deity's eyes. They lowered their heads silently. The entire Julie Cavern world fell silent because of Gongsun deity's shout. None of the onlookers, including the deity, dared to say anything at this moment. Then a chuckle broke the deathly silence. "The 6 of you are now my people, yet you are bowing and bowing to another god. Are you looking down on me?" It sounded like a chuckle. However, it was like thunder to the deity and the other deities, which made them sweat profusely. Their lives were in Suyu's hands now. "If you think you are useless, I don't need to keep you alive." Hearing that, the deity and the other deities said seriously, "As you wish, master. What are you waiting for? The deity in front of us is extremely vicious, and he tried to bury the creatures of the Great Western Alliance in the Julie Cavern world. In my opinion, he is most likely a spy sent by the Devil Clan. Capture him and interrogate him." Yes, the deity and the other 4 deities didn't dare to hesitate anymore. Although they were still afraid of Gongsun deity, they had no other choice. "Gongsun deity, you are unforgivable." The U deity shouted as he attacked first. The other 5 gods also chose to act. 6 versus 1 was Gong Sun deity's limit. At least according to his previous fights, he had a very low chance of winning 5 versus 1, let alone 6 versus 1. However, Gong Sun deity said coldly, "Those who betray me will die. You are the one who will die." The U deity and the other 5 were ready to risk their lives to kill him. In the beginning, the Gong Sun deity was able to resist them, and he was able to fight evenly with the 6 of them. However, as time went by, the U deity and the other 5 overcame their fear and cooperated with each other more skillfully. Gradually, they gained the upper hand. Destroy. Suddenly, the U deity found an opportunity. He pulled out a bone whip and sprayed a mouthful of divine blood on the bone whip. The bone whip turned red instantly, which was almost as powerful as an imitation Emperor-based Saint artifact. Then it hit Gong Sun deity's back. Bang! A muffled sound that penetrated the cavern world echoed in the silent world. A big hole was left on Gong Sun deity's back, and his white bones could be vaguely seen. After being seriously injured, Gong Sun deity's eyes turned red and filled with anger. Then, he turned around and stared at the U deity like an injured beast. "You want to kill me with the magic weapon I gave you?" The U deity was shocked. Then he swallowed his saliva and pretended to be calm. "You are so stubborn. Don't blame me for killing you for righteousness." "Ha ha, righteousness. I will kill you first." Gong Sun deity shouted as his divine blood flowed backward in his body. Heaven-defying 9 divine blade. After a shout, Gong Sun deity's body was filled with boundless knife essence. 9 divine blades of different shapes appeared behind him, each of which was as powerful as an imitation Emperor-based Saint artifact. This is... The U deity and the other deities were shocked. They had been following Gong Sun deity for so many years, but they didn't know Gong Sun deity had such a powerful bloodline. "Kill!" Along with a shout, the 9 divine blades behind him became real and pierced through the U deity's chest instantly. The U deity's eyebrows twitched wildly as he sensed the danger. Then he waved the bone whip in his hand to protect himself immediately. Crack! The bone whip, a top celestial artifact, was broken by the 9 divine blades. Then, the powerful knife Chi pierced through the bone whip and reached the U deity's body directly. The U deity was shocked. He didn't dare to let the knife Chi pierce through his body. So, he took out a charm and crushed it. The charm emitted a bright light, which covered his body and formed a pitch-black armor. Judging from its aura, it was an imitation Emperor-based Saint artifact. Clang! Sparks appeared on the pitch-black armor. Meanwhile, 9 dents were left on it. However, the U deity was knocked away by the tremendous force. Gong Sun deity's eyes were full of killing intent. "You are not qualified to be so arrogant without my magic treasure." Suyu caught the Gong Sun deity in front of him after saying that. After looking at Gong Sun deity calmly, Suyu took out a pink skull. The power of an imitation Emperor-based Saint artifact was much more powerful than the bone whip. "Anyway, you are my subordinate. Just take it. I will find you a suitable imitation Emperor-based Saint artifact when I am free." Then, he threw the pink skull to the U deity. The onlookers were totally shocked by this scene. Gasp! He gave away an imitation Emperor-based Saint artifact so easily. There are less than 20 imitation Emperor-based Saint artifacts in the Great Western Alliance. Almost all of them are in the hands of the descendants of deities. No, it sounds like this imitation Emperor-based Saint artifact is not a big deal to him. Who the hell is he? How could he give away such a precious magic treasure with the help of a powerful deity? The U deity was stunned for a while. Then, he said excitedly, "Thank you, Master. Thank you, Master." The other 5 deities looked at the U deity with jealousy in their eyes. How could he get an imitation Emperor-based Saint artifact so easily? He had just pledged his loyalty to another deity, but the benefits he could get were doubled. At this moment, the U deity and the other 5 deities suddenly realized the person they had pledged loyalty to was not an ordinary person. Gong Sun deity shouted even more aggressively, "Die!" He couldn't tolerate the betrayal of his trusted subordinates. Also, he couldn't tolerate the fact that his trusted subordinates could live a better life after their betrayal. After getting the precious magic treasure, the U deity was relieved. Then he said with a cold smile, "You should die first." Buzz. The U deity activated it with his divine strength. Instantly, the pink skull opened its mouth. Intoxicating music came out from it. The music was so gentle that it could drive away the restlessness and hatred in people's hearts. Then, it calmed people down and prevented them from having any negative emotions. Then, the pink skull was enshrouded by the pink mist. After a while, the pink mist opened up a path. Then, a lady in a pink ancient costume walked out of it. She was so beautiful that even the sun and the moon couldn't compete with her beauty. Her temperament was like that of a fairy. Every move of hers was like an ethereal fairy. Looking at him, from ordinary martial artists to deities, there was no one who wasn't stunned. They were deeply conquered by this beauty that didn't belong to the mortal world. Gongsun deity, who was in a rage, calmed down gradually. Then he stared at the lady in the pink ancient costume absent-mindedly. Only the U deity was not affected by her beauty. He turned into a jet of light and approached Gongsun deity. Then he pointed at Gongsun deity's forehead with his index finger and middle finger. Puff! Along with a dull sound, Gongsun deity's head was penetrated by the powerful divine strength. At this moment, he recovered from the severe pain. The beautiful lady in front of him disappeared and was replaced by the U deity, who was full of killing intent. Ah! Gongsun deity shouted angrily as he slapped the U deity away. However, he was also sent flying backward. A bloody hole appeared between his eyebrows, and his divine blood kept gushing out. The U deity spat out a mouthful of blood as he was hit in the chest. However, he said excitedly, "His body and soul are both injured. Let's attack him together. We can kill him with one blow." Because of his serious injury, the 9 divine broadswords behind Gongsun deity had disappeared completely. "Let me deal with him. Get out of my way. Let me deal with him." The other 5 deities, who were stimulated by Gongsun deity, started to attack him as if he were their mortal enemy. They were stimulated by the U deity's good luck, a replica of an emperor-based saint artifact. If they could kill Gongsun deity, they would be rewarded handsomely. The U deity, who was annoyed, didn't dare to be left behind. The audience was dumbfounded as they looked at this unprecedented and bizarre scene. Not long ago, they had been Gongsun deity's henchmen. Now, they were trying to kill him as if he were his mortal enemy. 6 deities arrived in front of Gongsun deity instantly and attacked him. All of them were trying to kill him. Gongsun deity couldn't resist at all. His eyes were full of hatred. Right when he was about to be killed, a loud and clear voice suddenly resounded through the heavens and the earth. Reversal of heaven and earth, fixing yin and yang. With a light shout, the 6 deities actually stopped moving and were frozen in place. Although they were still in the same position, their bodies and souls were totally out of control like puppets. Only their eyes were full of shock and fear. The onlookers were also in an uproar. Fixing yin and yang in the secret book of heaven and earth. It's the Alliance leader. What? The Alliance leader is here? Oh no, the Alliance leader is here. It seems Gongsun deity is well prepared. He asked the Alliance leader for help before he came here. Indeed, although that guy and the deities around him are powerful, they're nothing in front of the Alliance leader. I'm afraid he didn't expect that the Alliance leader would be here. Swish! The Jilly Cavern world was shaking violently. It seemed this world couldn't contain powerful beings anymore. Along with a deafening sound, the cavern world was broken into pieces. A middle-aged man in a luxurious robe appeared. He was wearing a purple gold crown and a luxurious robe. Behind him were 10 gods with extremely powerful cultivation bases. Each of them was more powerful than the U deity. The tree goddess, who was calm, started to look serious. "Be careful. That deity is very dangerous." To everyone's surprise, Suyu said with a faint smile, "Finally, you are here, the Alliance leader of the Great Western Alliance." Ah, Not only the father and daughter of the Duanxin cliff, but also the onlookers were shocked. Why didn't he go with Gongsun deity? Why did he wait for the alliance leader? Wait, did he wait for the alliance leader from the beginning? Chapter 1267. You've caused such a huge commotion because you wanted to alarm me, the alliance leader, right? The purple gold-crowned man's eyes flickered with a profound light. Gongsun deity retreated behind the alliance master in surprise. So the silver-haired youth's actions were just to alert the alliance master? But thinking about it carefully, there was no way the alliance master wouldn't be alerted if an anti-demon family was bullied to such an extent. Suyu smiled and nodded. Talking to smart people saves time and energy. You are the one I have been waiting for. As for you, Suyu looked at Gongsun deity. I just want to teach you a lesson to let you know that not everyone can be bullied. Many of the onlookers were bewildered. Now that they thought about it, it was still a mystery why Suyu had caused trouble for the Gongsun family. What kind of hatred did Gongsun deity have to bully him so miserably? His mansion had been destroyed, his successor had been captured, and all the gods under his command had been captured. From today onwards, it would be impossible for the Gongsun anti-demon clan to rank among the top 5. Whether or not they could maintain their position as one of the top 10 anti-demon clans depended on their luck and whether or not they could quickly gather a group of powerful subordinates. The purple gold-crowned middle-aged man's deep eyes swept across and suddenly focused on the Duanxin Cliffmaster. He was slightly surprised. Gong Sunya. The real name of the Duanxin Cliffmaster was Gong Sunya. Gong Sunya's eyes were filled with complex emotions as he stared at the middle-aged man with the purple gold crown. He was supposed to be his son-in-law, but he became a sacrifice because of politics. It would be a lie to say that he didn't hate them. The purple gold-crowned middle-aged man looked at him meaningfully, then looked back at Suyu. Are you doing this for him? Yes. What do you want to say by luring me here? Negotiate. The Gongsun father and daughter were both shocked. Could it be that the negotiation Suyu had mentioned was actually with the alliance master? Suyu could only take revenge on the Gongsun family because they had caused the Gongsun father and daughter to suffer. Suyu would only negotiate with the alliance master because Wu Xie's birth mother was still in the alliance master's mansion. About what? Let's talk about the unfinished marriage. The purple gold-crowned middle-aged man raised his eyebrows and smiled in surprise. I thought you wanted to talk about handing over my daughter to this father and daughter. I didn't expect your appetite to be so big. If he handed his daughter over to them, it would be very simple. He could make the decision with a single thought. But the significance of a marriage alliance was extraordinary. It was significant to him, and it was also significant to Gong Sunya. If he agreed to the marriage, it would be equivalent to admitting that he had made the wrong decision in the past. It would be equivalent to admitting that Gong Sunya had eloped with his daughter. This was undoubtedly a slap to his own face. I've always had a big appetite. I'm only asking for a marriage alliance because we're both creatures of the Xing River and we have a common enemy. Otherwise, it wouldn't be as simple as a marriage alliance, Suyu said calmly. These words were too arrogant. Forcing the leader of the Great Western Alliance to admit his past mistakes was too much. However, the tree goddess, who was familiar with Suyu, felt Suyu was really gentle this time. According to Suyu's character, he would never give up until all the deities were killed and the divine blood was everywhere. Simply asking the alliance leader to give Gong Sunya and his daughter a title, a complete family, and then let the matter go was really too gentle. It was a pity that she knew, but the Great Western Alliance did not. The alliance master did not refuse immediately. Instead, he said in a low voice, "The so-called marriage only exists between forces. What forces do the father and daughter have to speak of? It's impossible for me to marry my daughter to a village commoner. Faction? Do you think I'm enough? The Gongsun anti-demon family, the target of your marriage alliance, can be destroyed easily. All his subordinates have surrendered to me. In terms of power, I am much stronger than the Gongsun family." The alliance master looked at Suyu and had to admit that Suyu did have the potential to call himself a force. What is the status of the father and daughter in your force? Do they have the status of an heir? The alliance master asked a sharp question. Gongsun Shan was the heir of the Gongsun deity. What status did Gongsun Ya have? Status? Oh, Alliance Master. Why don't you ask if the Gongsun family will destroy another anti-demon family for Gongsun Shan? The answer was no. If one heir was dead, it was absolutely impossible to support another to fight against another anti-demon family. But I can. For the Gongsun family and their daughter, I will not only destroy the Gongsun anti-demon family, but also the other 9 anti-demon families. Although the words were arrogant, they were the truth. The Alliance Master took a deep breath. It seems that the father and daughter are very important to you. With such a status, they can indeed represent your force and form a marriage alliance with me. Gongsun was moved. However, before he could get excited, the Alliance Master changed his tone and stared at Su Yu. But which side does your force represent? You are the proxy god of the Great Eastern Alliance, right? The marriage alliance is an internal matter of the Great Western Alliance and has nothing to do with the Great Eastern Alliance. So, I'm sorry, I can't form a marriage alliance with you. Gongsun Ya's excited heart was poured with a bucket of ice water. What if I also join the Great Western Alliance? Su Yu suddenly said, What? Join the Great Western Alliance? The onlookers almost thought they had heard it wrong. A proxy god of the Great Eastern Alliance recommended himself to join the Great Western Alliance? The Alliance Master was also stunned. He didn't expect Su Yu to come up with such a solution after he refused. Are you serious? The Alliance Master asked. Su Yu put his hands behind his back and said with a faint smile, Do you think I'm lying? Then you are equivalent to betraying the Great Eastern Alliance. It doesn't matter? Su Yu shook his head. No, I'm still the proxy god of the Great Eastern Alliance, but I can also be the proxy god of the Great Western Alliance. He pointed to the bodies of the 4 gods scattered on the ground. There are 4 vacant gods. I don't think there is a shortage of my position. I don't mind becoming the proxy god of the Great Western Alliance. Hearing this, even the onlookers sighed. He is dreaming. He keeps the proxy god of the Great Eastern Alliance and wants to be the proxy god of the Great Western Alliance. Yes, the Great Eastern Alliance and the Great Eastern Alliance have their own policies. There is no reason to serve on both sides. What if he betrays the Great Western Alliance and betrays the interests of the Great Western Alliance? The Alliance Master frowned. I'm afraid it will be difficult for me to agree. No, you will agree. Su Yu looked around the broken starry sky and pointed in the direction of the demon dimension. The giant of the bitter sea is growing day by day and is about to break through. Many ferocious demon gods of the Holy Magic Hall are ready to take action. They want to sweep the Star River and devour all the creatures to feed the giant of the bitter sea. A storm is coming, and a war of the Star River is coming. I believe, as the Alliance Master, you should be aware that the crisis of the Star River is approaching. Su Yu looked at the Alliance Master. The Alliance Master was shocked. Who was the giant of the bitter sea? Did he refer to the huge demonic shadow in the demon dimension? How did he know its name was the giant of the bitter sea? Also, what was the Holy Magic Hall? Why had he never heard of it? Where did he know it? He was surprised, but he could not deny Su Yu's words. Well, all the signs indicate that the demon dimension is about to make a big move. Su Yu smiled indifferently. Therefore, under the general trend, the alliance of the creatures of the Star River is the general trend. Even if the Great Eastern Alliance did not take the initiative to contact you, I believe you will take the initiative to form an alliance with the Great Eastern Alliance soon. You will unite all the creatures of the Star River to deal with the war in the near future. So what? The Alliance Master admitted that the Great Eastern Alliance and the Great Eastern Alliance would form an alliance sooner or later. This was an indisputable consensus. Su Yu said, Is it not clear enough? Since we will soon be allies, I am the proxy god of the Great Eastern Alliance and the proxy god of the Great Western Alliance. What does it matter? No matter which identity, it is a force to fight against the demons. This, the onlookers looked at each other. Such a high-sounding reason made them speechless. Gongsun deity saw that the situation was not right and shouted coldly, Nonsense! Don't try to confuse everyone here. You joined the Great Western Alliance with evil intentions. Alliance Master, we must not allow such a special case to exist. The Alliance Master was lost in thought. Suyu said indifferently, "It doesn't matter if you don't agree. I will not lose anything. Instead, you will lose a chance to get a powerful ally. What are the odds of finding another force that is comparable to the anti-demon families to join you after searching the universe for so many times?" There was no chance. All the powerful forces had either joined the Great Eastern Alliance, the Great Western Alliance, or the world of divine remains. How could they still wander in the Star River? The Alliance Master's eyes flickered, and he seemed to be tempted. After a while, a smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. "You have convinced me. Well, in the name of the Alliance Master, I grant you the title of..." The Alliance Master looked at Suyu's unique silver hair and said, "Silver God." The cavern world was silent, leaving only the sound of the vast expanse echoing in the world. The proxy god of the Great Western Alliance, the Silver God, was born in front of everyone. There were many proxy gods in the history of the Great Western Alliance. However, a person who was the proxy god of two great alliances was the only one. "Thank you, Alliance Master. I am willing to fight against the demons together with the deities of the Great Western Alliance and destroy the realm of demons." So you said calmly. The Gongsun deity and his daughter were shocked to the extreme. Things had developed beyond their imagination. He had become the proxy god of the Great Western Alliance. The tree goddess curled her lips and felt numb. Anyway, anything that fell into Suyu's hands would develop in an incredible direction. It would not be surprising if he became the first proxy god to cross over the two major alliances in history: the Feather God of the Great Eastern Alliance and the Silver God of the Great Western Alliance. An unprecedented surrogate god had appeared. The Gongsun deity wanted to stop him, but it was too late. In this case, the marriage can be discussed. I will support the Alliance Master with all my strength, including the Alliance election in a few years, Suyu said. Although the fish god only briefly described the situation of their meeting, Suyu could easily analyze the situation. The Alliance Master was unpopular. The Shimin anti-demon family intended to fight for the position of the next Alliance Master. If the Alliance Master didn't get enough support in the Alliance election in a few years, the position of the Alliance Master would probably be taken away by the Shimin anti-demon family. The Alliance Master's pupils constricted slightly. He looked at the fish god and knew it was them who told Suyu. "Okay." The Alliance Master nodded and looked at Gong Sunya with a smile. "You have been wronged all these years. Go and see Fei. She has been missing you for so many years. And you, Wuxia, go and see your birth mother." Gongsun Wuxia was excited and happy. She didn't know what her mother, whom she had never met, looked like. The onlookers sighed with emotion. Was the defection incident that caused a sensation in the past finally settled? The situation where the Alliance Master fought against the proxy gods of the Great Eastern Alliance didn't happen. Instead, everyone was happy. Of course, the Gongsun anti-demon family couldn't be happy. "Give me my son," the Gongsun deity said seriously, suppressing his hatred. Suyu looked at him indifferently. "No more." "What do you mean?" The Gongsun deity shouted angrily. He didn't believe Suyu dared to kill his son. Chapter 1268. Seeing that the two of them were fighting again, the Alliance Master said, "Silver God, you are now a member of the Great Western Alliance. Don't be reckless." Return Gongsun Shan to him. I believe that after this incident, Gongsun Shan will not dare to make things difficult for them. When he said this, the Alliance Master did not look at the Gongsun father and daughter. Suyu saw his expression and said, "I am telling the truth. Gongsun Shan is gone. As early as in the underground secret chamber, he was destroyed. Oh, I almost forgot. Not completely, there is still a body." Swish! With a wave of his hand, he took out the demon god's cage. With a beast-like roar, Gongsun Shan rushed out with red eyes, pouncing on anyone he saw. He was no different from a beast, no different from a beast. Gongsun deity caught him in the air, but Gongsun Shan only roared, his eyes showing no intelligence. Anger surged, and Gongsun deity's eyes flashed with anger. Because his pupils contracted violently, his eyes looked like they were sunken. He roared, "How dare you erase his intelligence? If the soul was there, he could still be saved. If the intelligence in the soul was erased, what was the difference between him and the most primitive beast? Suyu said lightly, "Of course, he has to eat the bitter fruit of his own sins. When he persecuted Gong Sunya and wandered the world, he should have been aware of this. Destroying his body and soul is to make him pay for his mistakes." And Suyu's eyes flashed coldly. "You should feel lucky that the Alliance Master took action for you. Otherwise, how much better do you think you will end up than your son?" As soon as he said this, everyone felt a chill in their hearts. Indeed, judging from the situation just now, Suyu had no intention of sparing Gongsun Deity. If the Alliance Master had not appeared, Gongsun Deity would have been dead by now. "If you are smart enough, shut your mouth and take back your hateful eyes. If you make me unhappy, I will kill you like a dog." Suyu said coldly. Murderous aura, no, arrogant and heaven-defying words shocked the onlooker's jaws. F***, what is overbearing? That's it. I learned something new again. He killed your son, destroyed your mansion, and threatened you to shut up, or he will kill you too. F***, this is overbearing. I was born as the Silver God, and I will die without regrets. Silver used coldness, decisiveness, and overbearing attitude shocked the people of the Great Western Alliance. They fought with the demons all year round and thought that their characters were more or less overbearing and ruthless. But compared to Suyu, it was not worth mentioning. The Alliance Master frowned and turned around to scold Gongsun Deity. "Gongsun Deity, we are a family. Let go of the past grudges and don't have any internal strife, understand?" Gongsun Deity was so angry that his lungs were about to explode. Is there any justice in this world? However, in front of the Alliance leader, Gongsun Deity didn't dare to show his hatred even though he was full of hatred. He gritted his teeth and said in a low voice, "Yes. Only then would it truly be a happy ending. Since there's nothing else, let's head back." Suyu returned to the Great Western Alliance with the Tree Goddess, the Gongsun father and daughter, and the 6 trusted deities. As a substitute deity, Suyu inherited the mansion of one of the fallen deities and used it as his temporary residence. "God, you of the Suyu Master. Yu Master," Suyu said, "don't worry. 5 days from now, you will be welcomed. Some deities will come to meet you." Suyu wanted to refuse, but as a god of the Great Western Alliance, he had no reason not to deal with them. Okay, after the Alliance Master left, everyone settled down in the mansion. The Yu deity and the other deities looked at each other and knelt on one knee. "Congratulations, Silver God. We pledge our loyalty to you." Suyu nodded. "Yes, I will not treat you badly. Guard the mansion and don't let anyone in." Swish! The Yu deity and the other deities immediately stood guard. Suyu asked the Tree Goddess and Gongsun Deity to enter the living room. Plop! As soon as they entered, Gongsun knelt down on the ground. He stretched out his hand and pulled Gongsun Wuxia to kneel down as well. "Kowtow to my benefactor." Gongsun Wuxia opened her mouth and thought to herself, "I like him, and he is my benefactor. What kind of relationship is this? Should I take the opportunity to marry him?" In a daze, she was pressed down by her father and kowtowed to him. Gongsun also kowtowed solemnly. Suyu wanted to help him up, but Gongsun refused. He said gratefully, "Thanks to your help, my benefactor. Not only did our family escape from death, but we were also reunited. It is all thanks to you. We have nothing to repay you. Haha, with our relationship, there is no need to be polite." Suyu laughed and waved his hand to help the father and daughter up. He said, "Besides, I am afraid things are not as optimistic as you think." Gongsun was stunned. "What do you mean?" Suyu's eyes flashed with a profound light. He said slowly, "From my observation, I am afraid the Alliance Master does not sincerely accept you and your daughter. I am worried that the marriage will change." Does he want to go back on his word? No. As the Alliance Master, he will never go back on his word since he has promised the marriage in front of everyone. Gongsun was worried, but he was sure. Suyu shook his head and sighed. Gongsun was able to make a name for himself in the Jojo Cavern world and establish the Severed Fairy Cliff. He was a man who knew the ways of the world. However, when people were in a dilemma, they often only believed in what they believed. Although he vaguely realized that Su Yu's words might be right, he still tried to find reasons to convince himself. If he wants to destroy this marriage, why would he go back on his word? I see that the Alliance Master is very scheming and does not show his emotions. He must be a person who is good at scheming. It is very easy for him to change this marriage, Su Yu said. Gong Sunya and his daughter were silent, and their moods suddenly became gloomy. But you can rest assured that since I am the one who made your family a part of the alliance, I will definitely see it through to the end and will not give up halfway. Gong Sunya said gratefully, "Thank you, benefactor. Go and rest. It has been hard on you these days." When Gong Sunya and his daughter left, the tree goddess's pretty eyes flashed. Haha, you can also see that the Alliance Master's intention is not simple. Even a guy like you, who only stares at the money bag, can see it. I am not blind. How can I not see it? It hurts my heart to hear you say that. The tree goddess pursed her lips and said, "It is strange. If the Alliance Master refuses to let you join the Alliance, won't everything be over? He asked you to join and agree to the marriage, but he is unwilling. There must be a conspiracy. It is more than a conspiracy. I think the Alliance Master must want to use me to do something. You guessed it? I'm not a god. How can I know what he is thinking before he makes his next move? However, I probably know what he is planning." Su Yu's eyes flashed. I really don't want to go to the last step. In the Alliance Master's mansion. After the Alliance Master returned, he practiced in isolation as if nothing had happened. However, before he entered a meditative state, he opened his eyes slowly and said, "I knew you would come. Come in." Swoosh, with a flash of divine light, Gong Sun deity appeared in front of the Alliance Master. With a questioning and unwillingness look, he said, "Alliance Master, I have been loyal to you for many years. Am I not as good as an outsider?" The Alliance Master shook his head and said, "After so many years, you still can't keep your cool. The other anti-demon families are dissatisfied with you, and it is not without reason." What? Gong Sun deity understood the meaning behind the Alliance Master's words. "Alliance Master, what do you mean?" The Alliance Master looked at him. "You followed me from an ordinary deity to the position of the Alliance Master step by step. Why would I use an outsider instead of you?" Hearing this, Gong Sun deity was excited. But today, in the Julie Cavern world, that's for outsiders to see, and also for that brat to see. I still don't understand. You promised him the position of the Silver God and betrothed Fei to him. Not only did I suffer humiliation, but you also lost face. If you did not fancy his power, why would you do such a thing at the expense of yourself? Gong Sun deity expressed his doubts. The Alliance Master sighed. That is why I said you can't keep your cool. I do fancy his power, but I don't intend to use him. Those who are not of my clan must have different intentions. How dare a man from the Great Eastern Alliance replace you and become my confidant? I want to use his power to deal with the Shiman family. That old guy, Shiman Jian, has been aggressive in recent years, secretly gathering forces. 7 of the 10 great anti-demon families have fallen to his side. If this continues, the situation will be very disadvantageous to us. So, I need an external force to destroy the Shiman family. This Silver God is a very good choice. I gave him the identity of the Silver God to make it easier for me to use him. Otherwise, how can an outsider get involved in the muddy waters of the Great Western Alliance? Gong Sun deity's eyes gradually brightened. Then, what about the marriage contract? Once the marriage is arranged, you and I will both be laughed at. A cold light flashed in the Alliance Master's eyes. That is if they can survive until the day of the marriage. In the mansion, Su Yu was in a secret room, surrounded by powerful restrictions. Even the deities could not see through it. The tree goddess was guarding outside, her face full of suspicion. She muttered, "Being so mysterious, he must be up to no good." From the perspective of the Xing River creatures, Su Yu did not seem to be up to no good. There were 4 demon gods standing in front of him. Puppy, the 6th princess, the 2nd princess, and the 1st prince who had finally awakened. Since being knocked unconscious by Su Yu's plan to sow discord, the 1st prince had been in a coma for a whole month. During this time, Suyu helped him dissolve the blood of the giant of the bitter sea in his body, and his injuries were all healed. Of course, the mark of the 6 gods that was deeply imprinted in his body was only held in Suyu's palm. The other 3 princesses had long accepted their fate and looked at ease. Only the first prince stared at Suyu deeply. It seemed that he was desperate to attack Suyu at any time. Suyu said indifferently, "Those who achieve great things are flexible." As the heir of the demon emperor, the first prince should know the principle of forbearance, right? Humph. The first prince snorted, but did not make a move. Princess Yunxia could suppress them for 100 years, so what was the harm in being controlled by Suyu? "Finish what I want to do, and I will let you live," Suyu said. "Besides, as far as the current situation is concerned, we are on the same boat. If I am not mistaken, the people of the Holy Magic Hall must be on their way." Hearing this, the first prince's expression changed, and his defiant expression gradually eased. Compared to Suyu, the Holy Magic Hall was a fatal threat. "Okay, but you promise not to force me to do anything I don't want to do. I will listen to your orders, otherwise I would rather die." Suyu let out a smile. The most powerful first prince had been convinced. "Oh, you can rest assured that all I want is your absolute strength." Suyu smiled. Only by convincing the first prince could he truly control an absolute force. Suyu could not imagine that the gods of the Great Western Alliance would be shocked if the 4 princes and princesses, the 6 city lord gods, and nearly 70 early-stage quasi-gods were suddenly released. Especially the first prince, who was the peak of the demon realm, just below the giant of the bitter sea and the demonic god of 6 paths. Chapter 1269. What about me? What about me? Puppy jumped up and down. She was still in her original form, with little combat power left. Suyu looked at her and said, "Isn't it good for you? Anyway, after recovery, your strength is the same." Puppy waved her paws angrily, protesting. "Your situation is very complicated. According to the history of the royal family, once you are beaten back to your original form, there is almost no possibility of recovery." Suyu frowned slightly. He had discussed this with the 6th and 2nd princesses. Similar to the demon royal family being beaten back to their original form. This had happened in history, but there had never been an example of recovery. Puppy was immediately discouraged. It lay on the ground without saying a word, unhappy. "My lord, if there is a chance, it is better to find a way to restore my sister," the 6th princess said. Suyu nodded. The 6th princess paused and said, "I mean, my sister is more special, and maybe she will be of unexpected use to you in the future. Tell me in detail." Suyu heard that the 6th princess seemed to want to emphasize something. The 6th princess said, "A long time ago, there was a saying in our royal family that the royal family is no more than 9. There have never been more than 8 princes and princesses. Only this year, the 9th princess was born, which is an anomaly. The royal family is no more than 9? Looking at the expressions of the eldest prince and the 2nd princess, it seemed that this was indeed the case. I once asked the purple-eyed demonic god to speculate, and he mentioned 3 words, the ancient god realm. Ancient god realm? The strange term came into Suyu's mind. What is that place? I don't know. The purple-eyed demonic god only detected the existence of this place, but could not explore deeper mysteries. According to him, it seemed to be blocked by some mysterious existence, and he could not continue to explore. There was such a thing? Suyu was surprised. In the Xing River, there was still the ancient god realm. It seemed that he had to find time to ask the purple-eyed demonic god. Now, he was in the Buddha beads and could not show himself. His life was near its end, and when the medicinal power escaped from the demon realm, he had consumed too much great god source origin. Now, there was not much life left. At the last moment, he was giving Bai Wanqing advice, striving to give Bai Wanqing a chance to break through to the deities before he died. If it was not necessary, Suyu would not disturb them for the time being. "Well, if I find a way, I will try to help her recover," Suyu said. The puppy wagged its tail excitedly and rubbed itself against Suyu's calf in a flattering manner, acting like a spiritual pet. "Go and rest." When the secret room was empty, Suyu finally had the time to focus on his training. The first thing Suyu paid attention to was the Tao Tai's eye between his brows. After experiencing it several times, it finally fell into a deep sleep again. According to the records, the first time he woke up, he would be in a half-mature state. After the second slumber, he would wake up in a mature state. In the mature state of the Tao Ye's eye, its greed was so strong that it could only be satisfied by feeding on deities. Just as Yin Yazi feared, it finally began to become difficult to deal with. Different situations call for different measures. Suyu thought to himself, with his current influence, capturing a few deities and feeding them to the Tao Ye's eyes wouldn't be a problem. He should be safe for the time being. The second was the dead soul worm in the ancient mysterious ice. According to the heretic god, this insect was a divine insect that had failed to break through to become a medium god. Although it was already dead, it still possessed a fatal destructive power towards souls. Unless it was a crucial moment, it would not use it easily. After that, with a thought, Suyu's soul entered the 9-jade spiritual pearl. Master! Shungu stood in front of Suyu with a smile. With the help of Suyu's resources, she had also achieved amazing results in her cultivation. She had the cultivation of the Mortal Fairy Stage 4, which was even stronger than Suyu. After looking at her for a while, Suyu said, "It's a pity that there is no prospective deity, celestial energy sphere of the Ghost Clan. Otherwise, it would not be a problem to help you break through to become a deity." In the entire Xing River, the Ghost Clan was a rare existence. Only the Great Eastern Alliance had the Ghost Clan. "Thank you, Master, but I want to try to become a deity through my own efforts." As Shungu spoke, two different breaths faintly appeared in her body. One was the breath of the Ghost Clan, and the other was the breath of the Buddha. So he was surprised. "Oh, are you sure you can become a deity by yourself?" He was quite shocked. In this world, the gods that were born were almost all the gods who had inherited the godly seat of the previous gods. There were very few deities who became deities on their own. Shungu actually had the confidence to become a deity by herself, which was really beyond Su Yu's expectations. "Well, it was Xiao Dai who helped me." Shungu thought about it and pinched her hands together. A majestic, ancient charm flowed out. She could vaguely see two huge godly Dharma idols standing behind her. One Dharma Laksana was a ghost god, and the other was a Buddha god. "This is the ancient divine path. It is in Xiao Dai's memory." Suyu's pupils shrank slightly. The ancient divine path? The chaos, multicolored butterfly actually had ancient memories? "Where is it?" Suyu asked. Shungu pointed to a half-eaten, heavenly orchid silver bamboo and saw a colorful cocoon as tall as a human hanging quietly on it. "It's spinning a cocoon again?" Suyu showed a look of disbelief. When it transformed from a caterpillar to a butterfly, it had already spun a cocoon once. Now, as a butterfly, it could spin a cocoon a second time and continue to evolve. When did this happen? After eating all the heavenly orchid silver bamboo, it began to spin a cocoon. After coming here last time, Suyu allowed the chaos multicolored butterfly to swallow all the heavenly orchid silver bamboo, except for the most primitive one. Unexpectedly, after the swallowing, it changed again. It has ancient memories, and it can evolve a second time. I have been underestimating it. Suyu smiled slightly. It seemed that he had gotten some unexpected surprises. When he looked at Shungu again, even Suyu couldn't help but look envious. It is difficult for outsiders to find the divine path, but you easily obtained it from Xiao Dai's memory. This is your good fortune. If one day you break through to become a god, I will set you free. He had once said that if she behaved well, he would set her free. Now that she had the opportunity to become a god, why should Suyu stop her? "Sir, I am willing to follow you all the time. Without you, there would be no Shungu today." She was able to achieve what she was today because of Suyu's unsparing training. Otherwise, how could a little fairy be qualified to look up to the divine path of the heavens? Suyu smiled calmly. When a baby eagle grows up, it will eventually fly to the distant sky. If I keep you, I will be harming you. Feel at ease to understand this ancient divine path. I can feel that you may be able to become a god faster than I am. After saying that, Suyu looked at the nursery. Today, there were only 2 lonely ancient trees in the nursery. One of them was a heavenly orchid silver bamboo that was 10,000 feet tall. Compared to the heavenly orchid silver bamboo recorded in history, this bamboo was ridiculously large. According to the magical cultivation effect of the supreme growing soil, this heavenly orchid silver bamboo had been cultivated since its seed was discovered. Now, it was more than 9,000 years old. Another 1,000 years would be the heavenly orchid silver bamboo that was 10,000 years old. Suyu had been looking forward to seeing what kind of magic the heavenly orchid silver bamboo would produce. Unfortunately, apart from its huge size, there was no obvious change. Chapter 1270. His gaze flickered and shifted to a golden tree that was only as tall as a person. The tree was burning with golden flames, but it wasn't hot. Instead, it was extremely gentle. If it wasn't the golden flames forbidden wood, then what was it? The matured golden flames forbidden wood was used to build a small boat. However, Suyu kept a section of its rhizome and inserted it into the supreme growing soil to continue cultivating it. Now, it had grown into a small tree again. The divine wood that restrains the giant of the bitter sea. I don't know if it will have a stronger restraining effect after being cultivated for a long time, Suyu thought to himself. Last time, the golden flames forbidden wood, which had not yet fully matured, was taken out and used. But the effect was really good. It was not afraid of the corrosion of the bitter seawater. It could be seen that the material was amazing. One should know that the water of the sea of bitterness could even corrode a deity completely. If he could cultivate a top-grade golden flames forbidden wood, he believed that it would be able to display unimaginable power. Satisfied, Suyu withdrew from a 9-jade spiritual pearl and looked at his palm. A small flying crane, which was emitting the light of the Milky Way, appeared. "Master," the crane deity said, "how does it feel inside?" "Master, the last part of the Milky Way star sand has been resolved a month ago. Master has completely mastered this emperor-based saint artifact. I'm asking you." The crane deity said rather excitedly, "Thanks to Master's concern, after a long period of nourishment, not only has my spirit recovered, but it's also far stronger than before. If he was given the chance to cultivate the source of God again, his abilities would be vastly different from before." "All right, continue nurturing it." "Yes, but Master, I seem to have discovered a consciousness left behind in the Emperor-based saint artifact." The crane deity said hesitantly, "It's the consciousness that appeared after the obstruction was resolved that day." Suyu's gaze turned grave. "Why didn't you say so earlier?" The Emperor-based saint artifact actually had a remnant consciousness. Its existence is extremely weak, and the Milky Way star sand is vast and boundless. Even though I'm the artifact's spirit, I can't immediately sense its existence, so I didn't tell Master. However, this wisp of consciousness seems to be moving more and more frequently recently. Last time, I almost locked onto it. If it appears again, I have the confidence to lock onto it." Suyu said gravely, "We mustn't lose the Milky Way star sand. Pay close attention to that consciousness, and you must find it as soon as possible." "Yes." The crane deity retreated. Suyu was still in a state of shock. The Milky Way star sand actually has a consciousness? Who is it? Was it left behind by Tianjizi? Suyu thought to himself. Or is there another unknown existence that has been hiding inside the Emperor-based saint artifact all along? If it was the former, it would be fine. If it was the latter, a mysterious being that had always existed within the Emperor-based saint artifact had actually been by Suyu's side for so many years. Just thinking about it made Suyu shudder. Having received such important information, Suyu could not help but raise his guard. Hopefully, the crane deity could capture that wisp of consciousness in time and eliminate the hidden danger as soon as possible. He cultivated silently for several days. On the morning of the 5th day, the number 1 deity general under the alliance leader, General Tooba, appeared in his residence. "Silver God, we are holding a welcome banquet for you at the Alliance Master's residence today. All the deities have been waiting for a long time. I hope the Silver God will do us the honor of attending." Creak. Suyu opened the stone door and smiled. "Let's go." General Tuoba paused. Aren't you going to take the tree goddess with you? The Alliance also welcomes her. I don't think it's necessary. If she goes, everyone will feel uncomfortable, really. All right, in a secret room, the tree goddess suddenly sneezed, and her whole body shivered. She couldn't help but reveal a strange look. It's really strange. The spiritual crystal of extreme cold that I stole last night should have neutralized the cold. Why'd I feel so cold? The Alliance Master's residence was decorated with lanterns and streamers today. The divine light fluctuations of dozens of deities filled the residence. Hey, that's strange. Why is the usually deserted Alliance Master's residence so lively? I'm also puzzled. Usually, except for the deities' meetings, when is there such a joyous occasion? Hey, you don't know? This is the deities of the Great Western Alliance. They are holding a welcome banquet for our new deity, the Silver God. Ah, Silver God? So it's him. Tis TSK, this is really a big deal. I saw the servants of the top 10 anti-demon families. I didn't expect that all the anti-demon families would come to welcome him. It's really rare. It's a big deal, but it depends on whether the new Silver God can eat it or not. Today's welcome banquet is full of smoke and fire. Everyone thought about it and understood what he meant. The relationship between the top 10 anti-demon families and the Alliance Master could be described as incompatible as fire and water. Gathering at the same table, it was impossible to have a joyous and harmonious atmosphere. Sure enough, it was very lively outside, but the banquet table in the living room was deserted. The deities of the top 10 anti-demon families, from Gongsun deity, who ranked last, to Shimin Jian, who ranked first, were all present. The 10 family masters and the Alliance Master sat around the round banquet table. Among them, only the deities who were familiar with each other simply whispered to each other. The rest were all silent, and the atmosphere was very strange. Duh. At that moment, light footsteps sounded. Tuoba deity entered first and said loudly, "The Silver God is here." The deities turned their heads and watched as an excessively young silver-haired youth entered. The Alliance Master showed a pleasant expression and got up to greet him. "The Silver God is here. Sit next to me." His move was undoubtedly to show the anti-demon families present that Su Yu was someone he had taken a fancy to. Su Yu's eyes flashed slightly. Although he understood the Alliance Master's intention, he did not refuse because he had promised before that if the Alliance Master agreed to the marriage, he would fully support the Alliance Master. Although there were many deities in front of him, Su Yu was neither servile nor overbearing. He sat down leisurely. Shimin Jian opened his cloudy eyes and looked at Su Yu lightly. "I heard that you relied on a tree goddess to become a deity of the Great Western Alliance. Why didn't the tree goddess come? Why are you here instead?" His tone was very unfriendly. Was this a show of strength? Su Yu was secretly amused. Sure enough, the internal power struggle within the Alliance was serious. The strong man who had just been recruited by the Alliance Master was immediately given a hard time by Shimin Jian. Su Yu was neither anxious nor angry. What does this deity mean? Shimin Jian's eyes were full of arrogance. Humph! How can you become a deity of the Great Western Alliance? In terms of qualifications, only the tree goddess has a slight possibility of being on an equal footing with us. The Alliance Master's decision is very inappropriate. I suggest that we reconsider the qualifications of this person as a proxy deity. Otherwise, if outsiders know that anyone can become a proxy deity of the Great Western Alliance, wouldn't we become a laughingstock? This was a slap in the face to Su Yu and the Alliance Master. A proper welcoming banquet had turned into a condemnation before it even began. Not only was Su Yu embarrassed, but the Alliance Master was also humiliated. Su Yu was secretly amused. This welcoming banquet was indeed a little interesting. Chapter 1271. Who are you? Su Yu looked at Shimin Jian and asked indifferently. Shimin Jian's yellow eyes shone with a piercing light, and he said in a deep voice, "I am Shimin Jian, the head of the first anti-demon family." "Why? Do you disagree with my suggestion?" "Oh, you're the head of the Shimin family." Su Yu suddenly realized. Shimin Jian said coldly, "It's good that you know. If you know what's good for you, Get out of here, however. As soon as he finished speaking, Suyu said, I thought you were another Alliance Master. Since when can the families of the Great Western Alliance criticize the decisions of the Alliance Master? Those who don't know might think you are also the Alliance Master. As a new acting deity, I really don't understand the power structure of the Great Western Alliance. Shimin Jian said coldly. As the head of the families, of course, we will follow the Alliance Master, but if the Alliance Master is improper, we have the right to point it out. Then do you have the right to ask me to leave? Shimin Jian snorted. We have the right to make suggestions. Are you deaf because you are old? I am asking you. Do you have the right to ask me to leave? How dare you talk to me like that? Shimin Jian slammed the table angrily. Suyu said lightly, So, you are not qualified to ask me to leave? If you don't have this right, then please shut up. This is a welcome banquet for me. If you feel uncomfortable, you can leave immediately. I can't imagine what kind of perverted mind a person who feels uncomfortable but enjoys it at the same time. The gods of the aristocratic families were secretly shocked. This new substitute god was indeed unbridled and out of control. He dared to be so arrogant in front of Shimin Jian, the first anti-demon family of the Great Western Alliance. Ha ha ha! Shimin Jian laughed angrily. I have lived for a long time, but this is the first time I have met such an arrogant person like you. Asking me to leave, young man, what qualifications do you think you have? Shimin Jian sneered. When I fought against the demons, you were not even born, so you looked indifferent. You haven't seen it because you have lived like a dog at your age. Without waiting for Shimin Jian to explode in anger, Suyu continued, As for your resistance against the demons, well, I am ignorant. I don't know what merits you have. The gods of the various aristocratic families could not help but shake their heads inwardly. Newborn calves were truly not afraid of tigers. In other aspects, there might be flaws to speak of. However, if the Shimin clan claimed to be number one in terms of anti-demon merit, who among the 10 great anti-demon clans would dare to claim to be number two? He had asked about something that he shouldn't have. How ignorant. Chin'er, tell him about my achievements in fighting against the demons, so that he can at least have some respect for me. Behind him was a middle-aged man with a similar face. Yes, father. The middle-aged man looked at Suyu, shook his head, and said, I really didn't expect that there would come a day when I would introduce my father's merits to an outsider. Who in the world did not know about Shimin Jian's achievements? Was there a need for a special introduction? With some reluctance, Shimin Shan said, Father's meritorious service was to kill 4 deity-level demon gods, more than 30 prospective demons, and countless low-level demons. Because of Father, we have turned the tide for the Great Western Alliance many times and saved countless lives. Now, do you understand who you are talking to? I understand, Suyu said. Shimin Shan said unkindly. Then, show some respect. Don't be ridiculously ignorant. Suyu shrugged. Well, I understand. You just killed 4 demon gods, and you're just a guy who takes advantage of your seniority. If this is the merit that you're so proud of, and you think that I should respect you because of it, then wouldn't your Shimin family have to kneel and grovel before an existence like me, who has killed countless demon gods along the way? What? As soon as these words came out, everyone was shocked. Even the Alliance Master, who was watching the show with cold eyes, was shocked. Silver God, what did you just say? Kill my way out of the demon realm? The glittering deity's eyes lit up, and he looked Suyu up and down. Is what you said true? They had already discussed the escape of the creatures from the demon realm, which triggered the attack of the demon realm giants at previous meetings. The entire Great Western Alliance was looking for those creatures, and in the end, they'd appeared in front of them. Most importantly, they generally believed that the ones who escaped were the creatures of the demon realm. Who would have thought that it would be the humans? You really dare to say anything. Although I don't know where you got the news, pretending to be one of those escaped creatures should at least have some basis, right? Do you think we will believe you just because you say it? Shimin Jian sneered, not believing it at all. Pow! So you took out a space ring and threw it on the table. This is... The gods were stunned and looked inside the space ring in surprise. However, with just a glance, they were shocked. The blood of the demon god No, that is the blood of at least 5 demon gods. Hiss, there is so much blood of the demon gods. Silver god, where did you get it? They were shocked by the amount of blood of the demon gods. Suyu said lightly, what do you think? Did you really come back from the demon realm? Finally, some gods believed Suyu's words. In the Xing River, there were not so many demon gods. The only answer was that Suyu had been to the demon realm and killed many demon gods. Rays of scorching light filled the eyes of everyone, and they all shot toward Suyu. There was actually a creature that escaped from the demon realm. It was really a miracle. Shimin did not believe it. However, when he examined the breath inside the space ring, he gasped in horror. However, he still did not believe it. Maybe you found the blood of the demon gods by accident. There are many dead demon gods in the Xing River. It is not impossible to collect so much blood. Pow! Seeing that Shimin was still stubborn, Suyu grabbed a blood-colored centipede and pressed it on the table. A creature from the demon realm. No, it is not an ordinary creature. There seems to be special blood in the body of the centipede. The Alliance Master, Shimin and the Glittering Jewel Family Master all looked a little frightened. This breath is... The three seemed to realize something. Suyu said lightly, it is the blood of the giant of the bitter sea, which is what you call the demon realm giant. Wow. At this moment, there was no doubt. Suyu was the creature that they had been searching for to escape from the demon realm. The Glittering Jewel Family Master's eyes lit up. Silver God, I am responsible for the task of finding you. After the banquet, please do me the honor of coming to the Glittering Jewel Family. Suyu nodded cheerfully. Well, I also want to visit you and discuss my experience in the demon realm. The deities of the anti-demon families, from the family masters to the deities under their command, were all shocked and very interested. They had been enemies with the demon realm for many years, but their knowledge of the demon realm was almost zero. It was not that they had not thought of planning spies, but often the creatures that were sent to the demon realm either died or could not return without exception. If they could know the situation of the demon realm, they believed that they would have more confidence in fighting against the demons. It could be said that they were extremely eager to understand the situation of the demon realm. The deities of the anti-demon families were suddenly unhappy and said, Glittering Jewel Family Master, this is your fault. This is related to the great cause of the demon realm. How can you listen to it alone? It is better to say it now. We are all here. They were really itching to hear it. Suyu said, I am sorry. I am afraid it is not appropriate. Now is a welcoming banquet, not a meeting place to discuss important matters. Suyu refused, and his eyes were heavy. Moreover, some news is too shocking, and I really can't say it in public, so as not to cause unnecessary panic. I can only tell a few deities of the family master level. If it is leaked, the consequences will be beyond the control of everyone present. Hearing that Suyu had made the situation so critical, he no longer asked. The Glittering Jewel Family Master chuckled. If you can't wait, you might as well come to my Glittering Jewel Family and listen to the Silver God's explanation. Haha, the Glittering Jewel Family Master is so forthright. I will be there. Hey, the Demon Realm, what kind of magical place is that? I am also looking forward to it, and I will definitely attend. With the affirmation of many families, every hair on the Glittering Jewel deity felt comfortable. The status of the Glittering Jewel family was relatively awkward among the anti-demon families. Because of the influence of the betrayal of the Glittering Jewel family, many families would consciously or unconsciously draw boundaries with the Glittering Jewel family. Today, almost all the families were willing to come to the Glittering Jewel family. This was something that had never happened before. Everything was because of Suyu. The Glittering Jewel Family Master couldn't help but have a good impression of Suyu. He smiled and said, Come, let's have a toast. Thank you, Silver God, for bringing us such an important gift as soon as you entered the Great Western Alliance. Ha! Cheers! The Silver God is young and promising. He really puts us and the other anti-demon families to shame. Today is really a joyous occasion. The Great Western Alliance has gained a fierce general, killing in and out of the demon realm. TSK, TSK. Just thinking about it makes my blood boil. The cold and cheerless welcoming banquet was finally bustling with noise and excitement. Of course, some people were happy, while others were sad. From the beginning to the end of the banquet, the deities of the Shimin family all looked sullen. Let's go. When the banquet was about to end, Shimin Jian said goodbye with a cold face. The family masters pretended to ask him to stay and let him go. Even a blind man could see the anger in Shimin Jian's heart. He had lost all his face today. How could he not be embarrassed? However, no one sympathized with him. Who asked Shimin Jian to be so overbearing right from the start, asking for a snub? At the end of the banquet, everyone went home and agreed to hold another banquet at the Glittering Jewel family the next day. The Glittering Jewel family personally welcomed Su Yu to join the alliance. At the same time, the deities were also looking forward to explaining their experiences in the demon realm. Back at the mansion, the smile on Su Yu's face dissipated and was replaced by a faint look of worry. What's wrong? Did someone steal the treasure? The tree goddess appeared out of nowhere, a light and elegant fragrance wafting from her body. Su Yu frowned and said, "If it was the treasure, it might be better." "Oh, then what are you worried about?" Su Yu said, "I am worried about how to get things done. The Alliance Master's foxtail has been exposed, but how to solve it is the problem. The Alliance Master really has bad intentions. Did you notice anything wrong at the banquet?" Chapter 1272. It's not surprising. You are the Alliance Master's man. How can the Shimin family not target you? In order to make you completely fall to his side, the Alliance Master is happy to deepen the conflict between you two. Su Yu said, "It's not that simple. The Alliance Master intensifies the conflict between me and the Shimin family. There must be a conspiracy." "What conspiracy?" "Borrow my hand to get rid of the Shimin family." "Ah, even you can't destroy the Shimin family, can you? The number one anti-demon family is by no means comparable to the Gongsun deity's family. I mean, if the Alliance Master secretly kills Shimin Jian, and who has the biggest conflict with him, will become a suspect," the tree goddess said. "Then the Alliance Master will issue a wanted order for you, and you will become a scapegoat, and the Alliance Master will get rid of the strongest competitor without any suspicion." Exactly. Su Yu's eyes flickered as he thoroughly analyzed the Alliance Master's plan, which he thought was brilliant. "Then you have to think of a way. It's not your style to wait for death." Su Yu said, "So, I want to send you to do something secretly. Give me the money, and I will do anything for you." The tree goddess stretched out her hand. Su Yu rolled his eyes. "If this matter is done well, you will benefit." "You are right." The tree goddess leaned down and whispered to Su Yu's mouth, listening to his secret mission. After receiving the mission, the tree goddess said, "It seems very interesting. Okay, I will do it." A day passed in a flash. The next evening, the Glittering family came and invited Su Yu to the house to attend a dinner. The dinner had not yet begun, and Su Yu was taken to the study of the Glittering family master. This was the treatment reserved for distinguished guests. The Glittering family master is receiving the gods who are coming one after another. "Please wait for a moment, Silver God." A well-behaved maid served Su Yu tea and waited quietly by his side. Su Yu looked around the study. From the books he read, he could vaguely guess the character of the Glittering Book God. He was gentle and full of righteousness. When the Gongsun father and daughter were persecuted, the Glittering family master was the only one who spoke out to stop it, but he was refused by the Alliance Master and the Gongsun deity. Su Yu had a good impression of him. All of a sudden, Su Yu noticed an old painting on the wall. On the screen, at the top of the cliff, an 18-year-old red-clothed girl was kneeling on one knee in front of an old man. The old man's back was facing her, pointing at the world as if he was explaining something. However, when his gaze fell upon the elder, Su Yu's whole body trembled. "Yin Yazi, what is this painting?" Su Yu asked the maid. The maid glanced at it and revealed an awkward expression. But when she thought of the clan master's order that no request could be refused, she lowered her voice and said in a cautious tone, "This is an ancestor of the anti-demon clan, Lin Lang Meng, receiving guidance from Senior." "Who's Lin Lang Meng?" The maidservant stuck out her tongue. It's the Linlang dream who betrayed the Linlang family and became a demon. The glittering jewel mortal fairy? Suyu had a sudden realization. He only knew Linlang's surname, but he did not know her full name. It seemed that glittering jewel was undoubtedly the glittering jewel demon god. Then who is this old man? Suyu asked. He vaguely remembered that Yun Yazi had said that he had given Linlang some pointers on cultivation. It seemed that this painting was a record of the situation at that time. I don't know who he is. I only know that he is very powerful and calls himself the book god. The maid said. What? Suyu was taken aback. You mean, what does he call himself? He calls himself the book god? These are all written in the historical records of the glittering jewel family. I remember it correctly. How could it be? Suyu was shocked beyond words. Yun Yazi was the book god? What was his relationship with the book god in the demon realm? Suyu remembered that he had asked Yun Yazi what his divine path was. Yun Yazi did not answer. Why did he hide it? Haha, I'm sorry for neglecting the silver god. The hearty voice of the glittering jewel family master came from outside the door. Suyu came back to his senses and hid the strange look on his face. Oh, it's okay. All the family masters have arrived and are waiting for the silver god. Then let's go. You really need to understand the situation in the demon realm. They came to a spacious secret room. Except for the Shiman family, the gods of the other 9 great families were present. As for the Alliance Master, the Gongsun deity was present and would pass on the news. Everyone sat down, and Suyu explained the demon realm continent bit by bit, including the customs and customs. Except for the necessary information, Suyu did not hide much. After hearing this, the various deities felt that it was a new experience. It turns out that the ordinary creatures of the demon realm are no different from the creatures of our Xing River. The glittering jewel deity said in surprise. In the understanding of the Xing River, the creatures of the demon realm were cruel and tyrannical, terrible existences that devoured the world. Yes, I really didn't expect it. The demon gods of the demon realm are also divided into ordinary demon gods and demon gods of the Holy Magic Hall. We have always faced the demon gods of the Holy Magic Hall. Everyone sighed and had many questions. I wonder how many demon gods there are in the Holy Magic Hall. How strong are they? The glittering jewel family master asked the question that everyone was most concerned about. According to Suyu, the Holy Magic Hall was the core force of the demon realm and the strongest elite force. If there was a decisive battle with the demon realm in the future, it would be with this team. Suyu's face was much more serious. As far as I know, there are no less than 100. As for strength, they are divided into 3 levels: general, lieutenant, and general. The general is almost the same as the gods under your command, and the lieutenant is similar to the strength of everyone here. As for the general, only the Alliance Master may be able to compete with them. Hearing this, all the gods gasped in shock. As an anti-demon family, they were only ranked at the middle level in the Holy Magic Hall of the demon realm. What about the number? There are 3 general, 10 lieutenant, and the rest are general. 3 strong men equivalent to the Alliance Master. The gods trembled in their hearts. If they came out in full force, the Great Western Alliance would be destroyed. However, above them, there is a more terrible existence. The commander of the Holy Magic Hall, the demonic god of 6 paths. Suyu said solemnly, this person is the last disciple of the demon emperor, the strongest in the demon realm, and the princes and princesses of the demon emperor are all trained by him. Suyu said, if he enters the Xing River, no god will be his opponent. Upon hearing this, all the gods sucked in a cold breath. Is there really such a powerful demon god? The glittering jewel family master said. I saw it with my own eyes. Suddenly, everyone was solemn. It was no wonder that Suyu refused to tell them about the demon realm. If they knew that there was such an invincible existence in the demon realm, the morale of the army would be unstable. Before the war began, they would be distracted and choose to flee. The demon realm is so terrible. Many gods had a cold sweat on their foreheads. They thought that they had fought against the demons for 10,000 years, and their overall strength was comparable to the demon realm. Who would have thought In that case, why didn't the demon realm send out the whole army, but kept fighting with us on a small scale? So you thought for a while and said, I don't know if you have heard the story of captivity. A wolf, a group of sheep in captivity, the wolf does not eat all of them, but eats one at a time, giving other sheep a chance to reproduce. In this way, a sheep is eaten, another is born, and the wolf will always have food. Hearing this, the gods' throats seem to be blocked by something. You mean we Xing River creatures are actually captives, food for the demon realm? The glittering jewel family master said in a low voice. Suyu nodded slowly. From the perspective of the strength of the demon realm, it is true. It clearly has the power to destroy all the creatures in the Xing River, but it has not sent out the whole army. Instead, it has been harvesting little by little for tens of millions of years. There is no doubt that we Xing River creatures are actually food for the demon realm. To be precise, it is food for the giant of the bitter sea. Suyu's eyes were full of light. Wait, who is the giant of the bitter sea? The glittering jewel deity asked. Suyu said, the founder of the demon realm, the first demon emperor, an ancient existence that has lived for millions of years. Hiss, in the secret room, there was a sound of cold air. How is it possible? Can a creature live for millions of years? The glittering jewel family master was shocked. Impossible. How can there be such a long-lived creature? It completely violates the way of heaven. Yes, is there a mistake? Suyu asked. Then let me ask you, how long has the giant shadow in the demon realm existed? It is the first demon emperor. There was a dead silence among the gods. It is impossible to measure how strong it is. The demonic god of 6 paths is probably just an ant in front of it. Suyu said, many gods of the holy magic hall devour the creatures of the Xing River, and then they are swallowed by the giant of the bitter sea. It can be said that the giant of the bitter sea is the wolf that keeps our flock of sheep. Once this wolf enters the flock of sheep, it will be the time to eat all the sheep. And according to my understanding of the demon realm, it will not be long before the holy magic hall turns out in full force, and we will all become the food of the giant of the bitter sea. Hearing this, even the battle-hardened gods felt a deep sense of despair. Was there still a need to fight? But if they fled, where could they escape to? Although the Xing River was vast, it was a cage everywhere. So, do you understand your situation? If we unite all the creatures of the Xing River, we still have a glimmer of hope. If we don't unite, we will die. When the meeting was over, all the gods were pale, and they left in a daze. The news that Suyu got from the demon realm gave them a head-on blow. Let them wake up from their complacency. Silver God, thank you very much. The glittering deity bowed to Suyu solemnly. Suyu said, we are all creatures of the Xing River. This is what I should do. If there are any difficulties in the Great Western Alliance, feel free to. Before the voice fell, suddenly, a terrible divine power crossed the Alliance city, bringing with it a shocking, murderous intent. The gods who had just left came back. Swish! An old man appeared in front of Suyu with a cold, murderous look on his face. The glittering deity was stunned. Shimin Jian? You are only here now. The meeting is over. If you want to know the content of the meeting, I will tell you later. No, I don't want to know the content of the meeting. I just want to know why he killed my son. Shimin Jian exuded a crazy, murderous aura, pointing at Suyu from afar. What? Shimin Chun was dead. Shimin Chun was one of the few strong men who became a god alone. He did not inherit his father's divine path. How could he die suddenly? Suyu's eyebrows moved. The Alliance Master had really made a move. Chapter 1273. In front of everyone, the conflict between Suyu and Shimin Jian had been maximized, and there was no possibility of reconciliation. At the previous banquet, the conflict between them had not reached the point of killing each other. However, the murder of his son was enough to push their relationship to the point of a blood feud. In the future, if Shimin Jian was killed, Suyu's suspicion would never be cleared. First, he killed Shimin Jian's son, then he killed Shimin Jian. This Alliance Master really had a good plan. Shimin Jian, don't talk nonsense. The Silver God has been with us all the time. How could he have had the time to kill Shimin Chun? The glittering deity defended Suyu. Yes, Shimin deity. There must be a misunderstanding. We can all testify. Shimin Jian laughed angrily. If there is no evidence, why would I confess to the murder of my son? You ask him what this is. Shimin Jian angrily threw out a vine that contained the breath of the tree god. It was this vine that killed my son. Not even his soul was left behind. Shimin Jian's murderous intent was astonishing. You can ask him who this vine belongs to. The gods stared at the vine, which exuded the pure breath of the ancient bronze tree. And they all knew that Suyu was able to become the silver god because of this extremely powerful tree god. It was said that it was the ancient bronze tree god. Many gods looked at Suyu with surprise in their eyes. Was he going to kill Shimin Chun and take revenge on the Shimin family just because of a dispute? The glittering deity sensed that the atmosphere was not right for Suyu and hurriedly said, "Silver god, can you invite your tree god out so that we can confront each other face to face? We believe in the silver god. I don't quite believe that a character who could kill in and out of the demon world would only have this much tolerance." Yes, Shimin Jian, calm down first. There must be a misunderstanding. After some conversation, they found that Suyu was a rather brave, witty, and open-minded person. He did not look like the kind of person who would kill for revenge over some quarrel. The eyes of the gods fell on Suyu, full of anticipation, until Suyu sighed softly, causing their expressions to change. "Sorry, she is not with me." Shimin Jian raised his old head and let out a desolate laugh. "You're still saying it's a misunderstanding." The glittering deity family master protected Suyu and hurriedly said, "Silver god, can you tell me where the tree goddess went? Only by finding her can we explain the problem." Suyu shook his head. "I'm sorry, but I can't tell you where she went." Even the glittering deity family head couldn't help but waver. Suyu's people had killed someone, yet he refused to divulge the whereabouts of that person. Even if he didn't want to suspect Suyu, he still had to be suspicious of him. "Don't say anything. Today, no one could stop me." When Shimin Jian went berserk, no one in the Great Western Alliance could stop him. The glittering deity family master pondered and said, "Shimin Jian, please calm down. Don't kill a good man before the truth comes to light. At the very least, you have to find the perpetrator, the ancient bronze tree god, right?" After hesitating for a while, the other deities also spoke up for Suyu. "Yes, this may not be the silver god's doing. Maybe it was the ancient bronze tree god who acted arbitrarily." Of course, Shimin family master, calm down. Don't be impulsive. The silver god is a rare talent in the Great Western Alliance. Wouldn't it be a pity if he was killed by mistake? The deities tried to comfort him. Although Suyu was the most suspicious, they didn't want to see the first person in history who could kill in and out of the demonic dimension die inexplicably at the hands of Shimin Jian. "Get out of my way. Let's see who dares to stop me today." Shimin Jian was furious. He yelled and attacked regardless of the consequences. He is definitely the mastermind behind the scenes. Shimin Jian's peak divine power swept around, shaking off the three almighty families who came to stop him. "Those who stand in my way will be killed." Shimin Jian roared, his murderous intent causing several family masters who came forward to stop him to hesitate. Then, after a moment of hesitation, Shimin Jian's fatal blow went straight for Suyu. "How arrogant of you!" Right at that moment, a loud voice came from the heavens and the earth. A majestic figure filled with amazing divine power appeared in front of Suyu like a beam of light. He clenched his right hand into a fist and punched out. The insufferably arrogant Shimin Jian was sent flying millions of miles away. "Alliance Master," Shimin Jian gritted his teeth and said hatefully, "Why did you stop me from taking revenge?" The Alliance Master said coldly, "Shimin Jian, mind your position. As the head of the #1 anti-demon family in the world, you should set an example for the world. If you take the life of a deity without any evidence, won't you become a joke in the Great Western Alliance? If everyone was like you, killing deities at will, the Great Western Alliance would have long been in chaos." Shimin Jian failed to take revenge and was injured by the Alliance Master. After being injured, He was taught a lesson in front of the deities. Knowing that he couldn't get his revenge today, Shimin Jian looked up to the sky and laughed. Ha! I am the head of the #1 anti-demon family, but I can't even avenge my son. All the deities were secretly on guard. It seemed that Shimin Jian's rage had reached a critical point, and he could attack at any time. Fine, I will tolerate it today. When I find that woman, I will confront you face to face. Shimin Jian calmed down at the last moment. His pair of bloodshot eyes were filled with hatred as he stared coldly at Suyu. When the time comes, I will tear you into pieces. Swish! Shimin Jian left, and the deities breathed a sigh of relief. No one had expected that the new Silver God would form a blood feud with the head of the #1 family in Shimin. The Alliance Master frowned and looked worried. Silver God, why don't you come to my Alliance Master's mansion? I am worried that he will take things too hard and cause you trouble again. Thank you for your kindness, Alliance Master, but I have a clear conscience. As long as the Shimin family head still has a shred of reason, I will be fine. The Alliance Master nodded worriedly. Well, if you need anything, just come to my Alliance Master's mansion. Thank you. The Alliance Master looked at the crowd. All of you can leave now. After saying that, the Alliance Master himself took a step away. The glittering deity said, Silver God, stay at the glittering mansion for the time being. The Alliance Master's worries are not unfounded. Shimin Jian valued Shimin Chen very much. Now that he has died, he will not let you off easily. If you stay at the glittering mansion, Shimin Jian will have some reservations. I will do as you say. The glittering deity smiled slightly, feeling Su Yu's kindness. Su Yu had refused the Alliance Master's invitation, but he had gladly accepted the glittering deity's invitation. I will bring all the people in your mansion over. From today onwards, try not to take a step out. Thank you. Back in a room that had been arranged for him, Su Yu's lips curled into a cold smile. Next, the Alliance Master will attack Shimin Jian, right? Just now, when Shimin Jian was about to kill Su Yu, the Alliance Master had appeared to stop him. Chapter 1274. Their conflict would be intensified to the maximum, and Su Yu would be the most obvious suspect. Everything was ready, except for the opportunity to get rid of Shimin Jian. The problem was that Shimin Jian, as the head of the #1 anti-demon family, was extremely powerful and not much weaker than the Alliance Master. If he could not kill him with a single blow, Shimin Jian would escape and alert the deities of the various families, and the Alliance Master's conspiracy would be exposed. Was an Alliance Master who assassinated the head of a family anti-demon family still qualified to be the Alliance Master? Not only would he be removed from the position of Alliance Master, but he would also become the target of the Great Western Alliance. Therefore, the Alliance Master would definitely look for the most appropriate and suitable opportunity. At the Alliance Master's mansion, the Alliance Master has a brilliant plan. You have indeed provoked the conflict between the Silver God and Shimin Jian to the maximum. The Gongsun deity laughed sinisterly. However, the Alliance Master frowned. I feel that things are going too smoothly, which makes me feel uneasy. No matter how smart the Silver God is, he would never have guessed the Alliance Master's plan. It's just a pity that Shimin Chen became a deity on his own. The Great Western Alliance only produces 1 in 1,000 years, but he was killed just like that, the Gongsun deity said regretfully. Although he had no dealings with the Shimin family, he could not deny Shimin Chen's excellence. I did not kill Shimin Chen. However, the Alliance Master revealed an extremely surprising piece of news. If not the Alliance Master, then who? The Gongsun deity asked in surprise. The Alliance Master frowned. When I arrived, he had already been killed by the ancient bronze tree goddess. According to the plan, the Alliance Master would kill Shimin Chen himself, then create a scene to leave traces of Su Yu. He did not expect that Su Yu would instruct his underlings to kill Shimin Chen before he could do anything. I overestimated him. Just because of a small quarrel at the banquet, he lost his cool and sent the tree goddess to kill Shimin Jian's son, the Gongsun deity sneered. The Alliance Master's frown deepened. This is because I feel that things are going too smoothly. Something is not right. Alliance Master, you worry too much. The Silver God dug his own grave and saved us a lot of effort. It couldn't be better. The Alliance Master pondered for a long time and nodded slightly. I hope so. Next is to get rid of that old man Shimin Jian. It's time to hold a wedding for my daughter in Gongsunya, the Alliance Master said meaningfully. Gongsun deity sneered. That would be the grave of Shimin Jian, silver deity, in Gongsunya. Half a month later, Suyu was still in the glittering jewel mansion, patiently training in seclusion. In the meantime, there were rumors in the outside world that Shimin Jian had gone berserk and was searching the entire Great Western Alliance. Traces of the members of the Shimin clan could be found in the abodes of any deity in the Alliance city or in the desolate corners of the Great Western Alliance. Looking at the stance of the Shimin family, it seemed like they were going to dig 3 feet deep into the Great Western Alliance. Unfortunately, the murderer seemed to have vanished from the face of the earth. No matter how they searched, they couldn't find the slightest trace. Her disappearance was extremely strange. When the Shimin clan was wantonly searching for the murderer, on this day, the Alliance Master unexpectedly arrived at the Linlang clan. Moreover, he was looking for Suyu. To be precise, he was looking for Gong Sunya and his daughter. In a reception room, Gong Sunya was nervous. He was very clear about the purpose of the Alliance leader's visit today. The promise that had been made for a long time was finally going to be fulfilled. Haha, this must be Wuxia. Come to your grandfather. The Alliance leader waved at Gongsun Wuxia with a pleasant expression. Gongsun Wuxia's small mouth twitched as she moved her feet and ran behind Suyu. As sensitive as she was, she could sense that 90% of her grandfather's enthusiasm towards her was fake. Haha, you're still shy of strangers at such an age. The Alliance leader smiled and looked at Gong Sunya. I have decided that in 10 days, I will invite all the deities of the Great Western Alliance to hold a grand wedding for you and Fei to make up for my mistake in the past and fulfill your wish. Upon hearing that, Gong Sunya was overjoyed. He bowed and said, Thank you, Alliance Master, for fulfilling my wish. Haha, you should change the way you address me. Thank you, father-in-law. All right, my dear son-in-law. In 10 days, prepare well. When the time comes, you will take Fei home in style. Gong Sunya will not let Fei down. I'm glad to hear that. The Alliance leader patted him on the shoulder with relief. Finally, he looked at Suyu and said gratefully, It is all thanks to you that my daughter, my dear son-in-law, and Wuxia can be reunited. Please be sure to support us when the time comes. Suyu nodded. Don't worry, I will be there to congratulate them. Haha, then it's settled. I will go and prepare as well. After sending off the Alliance leader, Gong Sunya was still immersed in anticipation and joy. Suyu secretly shook his head as he watched. Everything was as he had expected. The Alliance leader might not have treated them with sincerity. The opportunity to assassinate Shimin Jian in one fell swoop and frame, Suyu was probably at the wedding banquet. Alliance Master, oh Alliance Master, I really hope that you can repent in the end for the sake of your daughter. If you continue to be stubborn, you will fall into the abyss of eternal damnation. Suyu sighed softly. The storm caused by Shimin Qian's murder had yet to subside, but the Great Western Alliance was in turmoil again. The former traitor of the Gongsun family, Gong Sunya, was about to marry the 8th daughter of the Alliance leader, Luo Fei. A marriage that had spanned decades was finally coming to fruition. Many of the elders who knew the inside story of the past were deeply moved. Perhaps to make up for the mistakes of the past, the Alliance leader invited all the deities to attend the ceremony. From ordinary deities to Shimin Jian, the #1 anti-demon family, everyone was invited. It was said that Shimin Jian firmly refused to attend. Everyone knew the relationship between the Gongsun father and daughter and Suyu. How could Shimin Jian possibly attend? However, the Alliance leader promised that after attending the wedding, he would mobilize all the forces of the Great Western Alliance to help him capture the murderer. Think about it. The entire Great Western Alliance was alarmed. Who could possibly hide? Therefore, Shimin Jian reluctantly agreed that he would attend. Ha, it's so lively. Our Great Western Alliance hasn't had such a lively scene in a long time, someone exclaimed. Who said it wasn't? What's rare is that Shimin is also attending. The 10 great anti-demon families are all here. On this day, the entire Great Western Alliance was filled with joy, as if infected. Hundreds of deities, big and small, all brought gifts to the wedding venue to congratulate them. When Suyu arrived, the rest of the deities were all surprised. In order to avoid conflict, Suyu and Shimin seats were deliberately placed far apart from each other. Even so, when Shimin noticed Suyu's arrival, he cast a cold, murderous look at him, as if saying, "Sooner or later, I'll tear you into pieces." Suyu shrugged helplessly and said, "Old man, you'll see if you survive today." The glittering deity looked at Suyu in shock. "What did you just say?" "Oh, nothing." Suyu tried to cover it up. Chapter 1275. The conflict between Suyu and Shimin had reached an irreconcilable point. All the guests saw it and felt helpless. I hope Shimin doesn't make trouble at the wedding. That better be the case. If he really fights, no one can stop him except the Alliance Master. Woo! The loud and clear sound of a bugle horn rang out. The wedding was about to begin, and all the guests took their seats. Because the wedding was extremely solemn, the process was very complicated. There were thousands of ceremonies, big and small, and it lasted for a whole day before it was mostly completed. Many deities gradually lost their patience. Gong Sunya's bitterness has finally come to an end. This wedding is even livelier than before. Poor deities like us. We've been sitting here for a whole day, but it's almost over. All we need is to pay our respects to the heavens and the deities. Let's wait patiently for a while more. The deities were the highest beings in this world. If there were deities present at the wedding, not only would they have to pay their respects to the heavens and the deities. However, the status of the deities was below the heavens and the earth. It was not appropriate for them to kneel, but to toast with wine. Therefore, after bowing to the heavens and the earth, they would toast to the deities in turn. After toasting, the wedding would be over and the deities could leave. 3 bows to the heavens and the earth. The MC chanted loudly. Even different races had the same reverence for the heavens and the earth. There were both human and non-human beings who bowed to the heavens and the earth. Gong Sunya was wearing a fiery red robe, his face glowing. His handsome face was no longer decadent, and he was shining with a dazzling elegance. He had waited for this day for too long. The bride had a beautiful face, and there was a mature and charming charm in her eyes. Although she was almost middle-aged, one could still see the peerless beauty of the past. At this moment, a pair of bright eyes looked into Gong Sunya's. As the MC chanted, they held hands and bowed to the heavens and the earth. A toast to the deities. Gong Sunya and Luo Fei each took a glass of wine from the MC and walked towards the deities. The deities were ranked from highest to lowest, and the first place was, of course, Shimin. Gong Sunya was a little cautious towards him. Even without deliberately sensing, he could sense Shimin faint murderous intent. "Shimin deity, thank you for your support today. This glass of wine, a toast to you." Gong Sunya toasted. Luo Fei smiled faintly and pursed her red lips. Like a dragonfly skimming the surface of water, she took a sip of wine. Shimin was expressionless. He picked up his wine cup and took a sip. Although he wasn't very enthusiastic, he didn't break the rules either. Gong Sunya felt slightly relieved and walked toward the other deities. Suyu, who had been staring at the scene, frowned deeply. That's not right. He actually didn't make a move. According to his speculations, the Alliance Master would definitely make a move during this segment. At this moment, Shimin was the most relaxed. Regardless of whether it was poison or other explosive methods, they would all have a miraculous effect. After all, no one would have thought that there was a hidden danger at the wedding. If he missed this opportunity, it would be extremely difficult for him to approach Shimin without raising his guard. Before long, Gong Sunya came to Suyu with Luo Fei in hand. Gong Sunya's face was filled with deep gratitude. He said solemnly, "Fei, he is the benefactor that I mentioned. Our family can be reunited because of him. Fei, give him a toast." Luo Fei bowed and said gratefully, "Thank you, benefactor." After getting up, she downed the wine in one gulp, her face flushed. Suyu smiled and downed the wine in his hand. However, he kept staring at Luo Fei out of the corner of his eye, slightly vigilant. If the Alliance Master wanted to kill someone by surprise, Luo Fei was undoubtedly the best candidate. Although Luo Fei looked normal on the surface, so you couldn't guarantee that the Alliance Master had not done anything to her. Even after the toasting ceremony was over, nothing had happened. So he was suspicious. Could it be that his speculation was wrong? Did the Alliance Master not intend to make a move at the wedding? Just as he was wondering, a couple returned to the stage. The MC smiled. Husband and wife bowed to each other and crossed their cups. The crowd burst into laughter. Gong Sunya and Luo Fei bowed to each other, then bent their arms and gave each other a toast. The ceremony is complete. As the MC sang, the wedding that had spanned decades was finally completed. Guests, please take your seats. At the seats of the deities, all kinds of strange fruits were quickly presented. The deities heaved a sigh of relief, chatted happily with each other, and tasted the strange fruits. It's finally done. It wasn't easy. Well, let's go after eating. The Great Western Alliance will be peaceful for a long time. Yes, we can take a break now. The Alliance Master's face was filled with a gratified smile. He waved his hand. Congratulations, the lovers are finally together. Luo Fei blushed slightly and looked at Gong Sunya beside her affectionately. Gong Sunya also felt extremely happy. I have a gift for you. I wish you two a long life together. Come over here. The Alliance Master took out a pair of King Kong rings. They were two imitation Emperor-based saint artifacts. The deities below were envious of such a generous gift. Luo Fei was overjoyed. She stepped forward with Gong Sunya to receive the gifts. Thank you, Father, Luo Fei said happily. The hatred she had for her father for many years had dissipated a lot. However, Gong Sunya lowered his head and held the King Kong rings tightly, saying nothing. Are you not satisfied with the gift? The Alliance Master asked unhappily. Gong Sunya shook his head. His face, which could not be seen clearly, was covered with strange hostility. He said in a low voice, I am satisfied with the gift, but if you die, I will be even more satisfied. The Alliance Master's face changed, and he shouted coldly, What nonsense are you talking about? Today is your wedding day. How can you talk nonsense? The strange scene on the stage gradually quieted the noisy wedding hall. What happened? I don't know. It seems like Gong Sunya said something. No way. If he causes trouble on such an important occasion, wouldn't he be putting himself in a difficult position? Gong Sunya's voice became deeper and deeper. He was almost roaring. I will only be satisfied if you die. How dare you? The Alliance Master was furious. However, right at this moment, the Alliance Master's body suddenly trembled, and he fell onto the chair, blood and sweat gradually appearing on his forehead. Demon gods brew poison. You poison the wine? At this time, the deities started to show strange symptoms. Oh no, I think my body is also poisoned. Quick, activate your divine power and seal the poison outside your body. As long as it is discovered in time, the poison will not affect you too much. For a moment, the scene was a mess. Seeing that almost all the deities were poisoned, the deities were furious. The wedding wine is poisoned, but the demon god liquor poison is a secret poison from the demonic realm. No one in our galaxy can refine it. Who did it? Who made it? In an instant, all the deities were poisoned to the ground. They had to activate their divine power to suppress the poison, not daring to move at all. The poison was very scary. Once it entered a deity's body, it would be a permanent injury. No spiritual medicine could cure it. The only way to be affected by the poison for a long time was to give up the deity's body. Chapter 1276. The direction he was kneeling in was none other than Suyu. What was even stranger was that everyone had been poisoned, and only Suyu was safe and sound. He was calmly sitting on the chair, and he didn't show any signs of being poisoned. Suyu took a light breath and said calmly, What a good plan. So, you were waiting here all along. Without waiting for Suyu to say anything, Gong Sunya roared and pounced over. He took out a replica Emperor-based Saint artifact dagger that was surrounded by demonic energy and stabbed it into the Alliance Master. Even though the Alliance Master's divine skills were unparalleled, he was able to suppress the liquor poison with all his might. However, he was powerless to resist and was pierced by the dagger. Fortunately, the Alliance Master rolled to the center of the gods. Gong Sunya did not succeed. His eyes flashed, and he looked at Shimin Jian. At this moment, Shimin Jian's head was full of blood and sweat. He did not know why, but the poison he had suffered was more severe than the other deities. He did not have the heart to care about anything else. Gong Sunya let out a long laugh. "Old man, you have offended our benefactor. I will take your life." Shaking off Luo Fei's obstruction, Gong Sunya flew over and pierced Shimin Jian's head with his dagger. With a twist of the dagger, Shimin Jian was killed on the spot. His soul was obliterated before it could even escape. Shimin deity. Many deities of the aristocratic families roared angrily with bloodshot eyes. The dignified head of the #1 anti-demon family, the pillar of the Great Western Alliance, was killed just like that. "Ha ha ha, it's your turn, Alliance leader Luo." Gong Sunya laughed hideously and pounced on the Alliance leader. The Alliance Master smiled bitterly. "Why did you do that?" Gong Sunya laughed and said, "Of course I'll help my benefactor get rid of you. Only when you're dead can he ascend to the position of Alliance leader." "What? You were instigated by the Silver God. He's just a proxy deity, yet he's coveting the position of the leader of the Great Western Alliance? What else? As long as you and Shimin deity are killed, the Silver deity will be the strongest deity. If he does not become the leader, who will die?" The Alliance leader closed his eyes in despair and laughed angrily. "Silver God, oh Silver God, you have the ambition of a wolf. It turns out that you have bad intentions since you joined the Great Western Alliance. I won't let you go even if I become a ghost." Just as he was about to be beheaded, Luo Fei cried out, "Father, Gong Sunya, come here." With a roar of grief and indignation, Luo Fei unleashed the powerful cultivation of a late-stage prospective deity and caught up with him at the critical moment. His palm pierced through Gong Sunya's back and crushed his heart in an instant. Gong Sunya screamed unwillingly. He turned his head, and his crazy eyes suddenly became clear. He was at a loss for a moment before a pained look appeared on his face. "Fei-er, so it's you." In the end, before he could say anything, he was killed by Luo Fei on the spot. Instantly, blood splattered everywhere. At the last moment, the murderer was finally stopped. Fortunately, it did not continue to cause a disaster. The death of the head of the #1 anti-demon family had already damaged the vitality of the Great Western Alliance. If even the Alliance leader died, the Great Western Alliance would face an unprecedented crisis. Whoosh! The Chancellor took a deep breath. With Luo Fei's help, he sat up again. After barely suppressing the poison in his body, the Chancellor looked at Gong Sunya's body with disappointment and sorrow. "How could you be so stupid? Believe what others say? Gong Sunya, oh Gong Sunya, I entrusted my daughter to you. I entrusted my hopes to you, but you betrayed me like this." The Alliance leader looked up to the sky and lamented. The chaos subsided. The deities listened to the Alliance leader's sorrowful sigh while looking at Shimin Jian's body that was gradually turning cold. Pairs of eyes that were ignited with anger focused on Su Yu. Was it really you? The deities who had always believed in Su Yu were now filled with disappointment and murderous intent. "Silver God, I trusted you so much before. In the end, you really did such a heartless thing. Shimin Chun, you instigated the tree goddess to kill him, didn't you?" In the face of the furious deities, Su Yu said calmly, "It wasn't me. If I wanted to kill you and seize the position of the Alliance leader, I wouldn't have to go through so much trouble. I would have done it openly." His explanation did not calm him down. Instead, it added fuel to the fire. "Ha ha, listen to me. Even now, you still refuse to admit it. You still lie and deceive us. Let me ask you, why was everyone poisoned except you? Let me ask you again, why did Gong Sunya kill Shimin Jian for no reason? Why did he kill the Alliance leader? What did he stand to gain by doing so? The blood feud between you and Shimin is obvious to all. No one but you would have done such a cruel thing. Suyu fell silent after being interrogated with such penetrating and direct questions. The Alliance leader's move was brilliant. Just when Suyu thought he would manipulate Luo Fei to assassinate Shimin, the one who was manipulated turned out to be Gong Sunya. Before attending the wedding, Suyu had specifically checked to ensure that Gong Sunya would be fine. However, he had been manipulated in a strange way. Moreover, Gong Sunya had been manipulated to stab Suyu and then kill Shimin. Who would have thought that the mastermind behind all this was actually Alliance leader Luo? Moreover, he had manipulated Gong Sunya to slander him by saying that he was under Suyu's orders, pushing all the suspicion onto Suyu. The best part was that he did not have any chance to explain before he was killed by Luo Fei. Luo Fei was willing to betray the Great Western Alliance for Gong Sunya and remained unmarried for many years. How deep was her love for him? How could she kill Gong Sunya just like that? There was no doubt that Luo Fei was also manipulated by the Alliance leader. Therefore, Suyu did not explain, because even he himself found it hard to believe that all of this was not his doing. There's no way to explain it, is there? Some of the deities gradually regained their composure, their murderous, intense, menacing. I must have been blind to believe you and put in a good word for you. If I had known, I would have helped Shimin and destroyed your divine soul. I was at fault too. I stopped Shimin. If I had believed him that day and killed this beast, Shimin would not have died so tragically. Gradually, more and more deities recovered. He infiltrated our Great Western Alliance. He was up to no good. To be deceived by him until now. Does this mean that the so-called experience of a demonic dimension was just a lie to deceive us? So he was still silent. No matter what he said now, they would not believe him. Raising his eyes, Suyu stared at the Alliance leader and smiled approvingly. You are indeed the Alliance leader. I have underestimated you. You are skilled in using your methods, meticulous in your thinking, ruthless and decisive in your actions. To be honest, if you had not offended me, you would actually be a very qualified leader. A leader did not need to be benevolent and righteous. That was the standard of saint. An expert who could lead a faction needed qualities like Alliance leader Luo. He needed to be scheming, resourceful, ruthless, and decisive. If the power struggle between them had not involved Suyu, he would not have intervened and would have even supported the Alliance leader. In comparison, he was more suitable to lead the Great Western Alliance than someone like Shimin, who was not shrewd enough. However, since he planned to step over Suyu's dead body to keep his position as the Alliance leader, he would not hesitate.